and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth the new Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, dinosaur hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
I'm Julianne Moore's Nikon Mike.
I'm Colton.
It's Jill.
And we are back, and we have a special guest with us. Anthony is back, and not about Terrifier. That's always a...
Yes. Yeah.
We brought you for something maybe even more terrifying than Terrifier. I'm not sure.
I mean, depends on who you ask, I guess. Right? It's good to be back. I'm happy to be back on the show. It's exciting.
Yes, it's always exciting to have you back. You know what? I figure let's get right into it because I can see Colton. He's got his JP shirt on. I got my JP hat on, and Colton's like, he's already ready to get right into the movie.
You cannot skip over Mike right now. Tell them what Mike is wearing.
Mariah Carey.
Of course. His festive attire.
He's got his Mariah Carey shirt on.
She's sitting in front of a Christmas tree. It's a Mariah Carey Christmas shirt.
Some may say that is actually more scary than a field full of velociraptors.
I'm ashamed to admit, but I still have my Christmas tree up downstairs, so, you know.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
It's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, now I feel like we just got to make fun of Colton now. Yeah, so you know what? Let's just get right into what we've been consuming. So you know what that means, what we've been watching, what we've been reading, what we've been listening to, just what we've been doing. Anthony, you're the special guest. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Be more than happy to. So what have I been doing? What have I been intaking? So I picked up a video game called Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that came out pretty recently. And takes place in 15th century Bohemia. Just a bastard son of a blacksmith gets wrapped up in a war between two kings. Yeah, it's a pretty dope game. I actually just finished that one up.
Did it take you like 100 hours? That's a really long one, right?
Yeah, no, that game is super long. I mean, you could get to the first mission. It might even take you up to like 40, 50 hours, like people are saying on Reddit. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Been watching a lot of Dark Side of the Ring. The new season started up with that for any wrestling fans in the house. Been watching a couple movies. I saw Enora was probably the most recent one.
Nice.
And yeah, really excellent movie. I absolutely loved just the cast in general. Just killed it. But that's pretty much it for me. I haven't really been into anything else. How about you? Rowan?
Oh, geez, you kicking right over me. Well, this probably is. This probably gonna be
Switching
good.
It's
been a little slow for me, just because I was away the last couple days. Peek behind the veil. We're recording this like 4 days later than we normally do. 3 days later.
I also find it funny that you're saying, "Oh, it's a little slow," and I'm glancing at your letterbox here now, and you got 12 things logged. So, strap in for 40 minutes.
No, they're not that bad. I'll say a little bit of TV watching. I just started getting into. I think we're like one episode into the new season of Love on a Spectrum. Which is like me and X just love that show. It's so good. It's so like heartwarming and funny. So been watching that. I'm slowly moving through Daredevil, which I'm absolutely loving. I'm like back on board. I think it's good. It's cool. It's interesting just because it's like, I would say it's probably the most hard R thing that Disney has done so far. And I was pretty impressed that they haven't, I thought they might like back away and try to clean it up a little bit, for a wider audience, but they seem to just be fully going into what Netflix was digging into with like a hard R type show. So
every time you say that, I can't.
I know. I'm just like, Rowan's just so happy that Daredevil's using the hard R.
The hard R. Yeah. Oh, I hate all of you. So yeah, Colton's like, oh, I'm looking at this list, it's huge. So really a lot of these, there's not like a lot to say about what I've been watching. I've been really utilizing my, what did we say it was, Mubi in my Mubi account.
God.
So I've been watching like a bunch of shorts, actually. Just checking. Shorts is something that, is, unless you're looking for them, they're fairly hard to find. Like they're not normally on, like Netflix or Disney or something like that. So they have a lot on there that I was interested in. The main one I wanted to see was Reality Plus, which is directed by Coralie Fargit. And I really like this. It's very Black Mirror-ish, body horror / sci-fi, basically about like a chip that you get installed in your head, and you basically like turn yourself into an avatar of a hot person, like a model, and everybody that has this chip, that's how they see you. And of course, like all of society is using these chips, and it's kind of like this like cute kind of romantic story, and so that was kind of cool. Like, even though it does have like that Black Mirror twist, it's not really like very much of like a horror movie or even scary. It's more of like a romance story, kind of with like a feel-good ending, which is interesting from her. But it looks really good. I really enjoyed it. Another one I watched was called Muse, just because this was one that they've been promoting on their main page, that is directed by Powell Pawlikowski, I think how you say their name. Yeah. It's like a Polish director. This was fine. It was like super art house. It's like literally just about a piano player playing a piano, and his muse, who is obviously some woman that's like a model or something, is like dancing to the music and trying to get his attention, and it just gets wilder and wilder. It looked good, but other than that, it was just kind of wasn't for me, let's say, necessarily. One I really did enjoy was Meeting the Man, James Baldwin in Paris. So this was I think it was like 28 minutes or something. And it was basically an interview that was supposed to be a documentary that a British filmmaking team did of James Baldwin in Paris, obviously, that, they wanted to kind of cover up his, like, activism and stuff originally. Like, they came in and they wanted it to be about, like, why you love Paris and the great things about Paris. And it's like this white film crew and documentarian. And pretty much, like, the minute they meet up with James Baldwin is just, like, very combative with them the minute they meet up, and the entire time. And they just follow him around. And he basically get to see him, like, talk to, like, young activist students, and, it just follows in all the themes of stuff James Baldwin talked about, like being a gay man in the States, and then moving to Paris, and just activism he was doing, and basically talking about how, it doesn't matter if they want to talk about art, or, they were specifically talking about his stories that he wrote. And, he's like, even fictional stories are still activism and political, even if you want to cover that up. It's super interesting if you're into that. Another one I watched was Good Thanks You. This is by Molly Manning Walker, who obviously, was it last year or the year before, that she had all the hype with the movie How to Have Sex. This was a short that they made in 2020 that very much follows kind of, the themes that they like to explore. This one's like about a young woman that's in university that is sexually assaulted after a night of drinking, and basically, like not wanting to talk about it, and then doing so through the channels they tell you to do through like the university and stuff. And just how, the system really, like, is not built for that kind of stuff, and how they'll just, it's a very typical story of, like, a guy that's been reported a ton of times, and the university's, like, sweeping it under the rug. I really enjoyed it. Also, as a fan of Top Boy, there's like a couple actors that were from Top Boy in this, and so I really enjoyed that as well. Another one I got to check out was Touch of Crude, which is by our boy Nicholas Winding Refn, and this was a short film that he made for Prada, and I absolutely loved it. It was so good. This was up Jill's alley. This is like, you know, it's him doing his Neon Demon shit. It's just like hypnotic, like trance music, beautiful visuals. All the actresses in it are actually his wife and his daughters. And it's like this weird sci-fi story that, you know, it's just dripping with his visuals of just like neon colors and golds, and everything's just like just decadent and, you know, almost gaudy. And
I need you to send that to me. Please.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that one. And then the last short I watched was Untold Hours, which is Canadian, by a guy, directed by a guy named Daniel Worth. This one I didn't really like. It was shot during COVID, and it was basically just like following an artist creating a costume to go to a costume party, which was kind of weird because I was like, oh, this is like during the pandemic, and at the end when they go to this party, like no one has a mask on and they're just all at a house party.
Even at a costume party, nobody has a mask on?
Well, like if they had masks, but like there was lots of people that didn't have any masks on.
Oh,
they're
okay.
just like drinking and partying. But
I thought maybe it was like a masquerade or something, like a play on that, you know?
The main point of the story was just like you are watching tediously this girl just creating a costume and like sewing it, gluing it, doing all this stuff. And there's no point to it other than that. Like you're just watching.
Sick.
It was just really boring. It was really boring. So, you know, maybe it's for someone. That person's not me. Then the only like films I saw Death of a Unicorn. Colton did too.
We sure did.
Episode now playing on it, so you can hear us just absolutely love Death of a Unicorn. Slay it, we did.
Yeah, I think 10 people listened to that total, so it's doing numbers.
Yeah, probably better than it's doing in the theater.
Damn.
Or critically. I got to check out Maria, though. I am still trying to do my Oscar watches that I missed. So this was the film Angelina Jolie was in, directed by Pablo Larraín. Is it a sacrilege? I've never seen the other two movies in the series, so...
Yeah, this is insane that you're watching the end of this, like, unofficial trilogy. I mean, obviously, they're not connected, but, like, to skip Jackie and Spencer and go to definitely the weakest one first is a choice.
Yeah, it did make me want to watch the other two because I've heard like a lot of good things about the other two. And this one, I did enjoy. Like I thought Angelina Jolie's performance was actually pretty good. I was surprised that she didn't get nominated for it. I really enjoyed it. Visually, like stunning. And you know, I like the story. I know, even though I haven't seen it, I've heard Colton talk about it. A lot of people talk about like Spencer and stuff and how they almost work as like horror, you know, this like ghost horror, like haunting feeling. And this follows the same kind of thing where, you know, you're trying to figure out what's reality, what's not, as this woman's
Spencer
dying.
even a little bit more overtly than this one. Like that one literally has like dream sequences, nightmares, that sort of thing. It's almost like a ghost story in some sense.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Like it wasn't like my favorite thing I watched so far that was like an Oscar film, but I thought it's pretty good, and it will make me go watch Jackie and Spencer now. So that's good. I got 2 Disney watches in. Because that's the kind of guy I am. Continue on my Disney journey. I saw Dumbo for the first time. Yeah. Wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
Oh my god.
I thought it was good. Like, you know.
At least you didn't give Snow White like 2 stars again or whatever and call it mid.
Did I give it 2 stars? I thought I gave Snow White only like a star and a half.
Oh, sorry. I was giving you way too much credit.
I think I gave Dumbo more than Snow White. I did like the visuals of Dumbo, and it was weird. It was just weird. It's very short, and I didn't necessarily like a lot of the story. It seemed like a rush story, and obviously I had an issue. You know, it's kind of hard watching crows, the Jim Crows. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yikes.
Yeah, super yikes. And also a movie for children where, Dumbo just gets like hammered for like the last half of it and just starts hallucinating. That's a choice for kids, I guess.
That's
and then,
typical Disney.
To follow that up, I watched Bambi, which I actually loved. I loved Bambi.
Dude, Bambi is so traumatizing, actually.
Yeah, it really was. Like, even knowing what happens in Bambi, I was still devastated. I thought the music was good in this. The visuals were good in this. The story was good in this. Rowan's found another Disney movie. Like, I thought this was really, really well done. I did think Bambi was a girl my entire life. I didn't know Bambi was a guy.
Oh, my God.
And then also no one told me about that, like, underlying homoerotic storyline going on with Bambi and Flower there, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Bambi keeps telling him he's like pretty like a flower, and he keeps like blushing and giving Bambi the eyes. And then when they grow up, Flower's named his kid Bambi after Bambi. And I was like, oh, that's
steamy.
Steamy. And then the last thing I watched The Brutalist. Staying in those B movies, Bambi and The Brutalist, very similar films.
Great double feature. Yeah.
My favorite part in Bambi, similar to The Brutalist, is when they start and you're just watching hand jobs happen on screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought The Brutalist was pretty good. I've heard like a lot of hype about it. Obviously, like I know me and Colton listen to The Big Picture. They're like obsessed with The Brutalist. Is like the
Brutalist boys.
Brutalist boys.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a Brutalist boy, but
didn't they use AI on that movie?
They did.
Oh my God, guys, we can't open up this can of worms. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I thought it was really good. Like visually, it was really good. I like the first half of the movie better than I do the second half of the film. I just thought they kind of got too much in the weeds in the second half, where I really, like, that first half, I was just totally into it. I was like, man, this might actually be as good as everyone said. And I just kind of felt like it faltered a little bit with that last half. It wasn't for me. But I thought I thought Adrian Brody was super good. And the score is amazing. Obviously, it's like super catchy, and yeah, I thought it's definitely worth everyone watching once. It's a long movie, so that might be all you watch it. I think it's like 3.5+ hours long. It's long enough that it has a real intermission in it. That there's just like
a solid 15-minute intermission where everyone gets up to go and get, refill a popcorn, go to the bathroom, that sort of thing. It's great.
But yeah, I think what everyone's kind of saying about it, like comparing it to like There Will Be Blood, stuff like that. I think if you're into that, you would be into this. But yeah, that is all I've been doing. Let's kick it over to Jill.
Oh, me. Yay. Okay. So I've been reading. So the first book that I read was Rouge by Mona.
Ooh, I really want to read that.
Oh, you're going to like it.
I like her other
think.
books.
Have you read Bunny?
Yes, years ago when it first came out.
It's very similar to Bunny in ways, but also, I mean, it's like a surreal psychological body horror. Honestly, very much like The Substance. So that's really in right now. So I think it's going to do really well. But it makes commentary on like the beauty industry and our obsession with beauty. It's honestly such a trip. Like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but the payoff is always great. I don't know. I love her work. I need to, gobble up every little thing that she's written. But definitely check that out, Mike. I need someone to talk about it with.
Oh, I will.
So I really enjoyed that. Keeping in the theme of Canadian writers, I guess. I read Dearly, which is a selection of new poems by Margaret Atwood, who is one of my favorite writers. I found it to be decent, but I kind of like Margaret Atwood better as a novelist than a poet. But it was okay.
I like her poetry from the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, the newer stuff, I don't know. These are new poems too, so I don't know. Yeah. And the last thing that I read that I'll talk about is So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. She's really big in horror right now as a name. It's a vampire novel, and I enjoyed most of the book. The ending seemed kind of rushed, so that was a little disappointing. But I know a lot of people like her work, and she has quite a few titles that look pretty interesting. So I'm excited to read more from her. That's it for books. Then for movies, I rewatched Fear Street 1994. These are mine and Rowan's like kind of movies. It's our jam a little bit. But I reviewed
Needle Drop the movie.
Needle Drop the movie.
The wrong needle drops.
The wrong needle
Not
drops
even
every single time.
songs.
Yeah.
I can't
we
get
talk
started
about
on
that.
this again.
No, yes, we have an episode on Straight Jacket Talk. If you're interested in hearing our thoughts about it, you can check it out on the Mouths of Madness YouTube channel. But yeah, that was one of the things that I talked about, is that there's so many needle drops and they're absolute bangers, but there's no reason to play them, and it really takes away from everything. Like Closer by 9 Inch Nails, and no one's banging, so like what's the point?
You can't stop Netflix from Netflixing, so
I guess so. It is very Netflixy, especially 1994. It's very Stranger Things.
Yeah,
I guess. But I grew up with R.L. Stine books, Fear Street, and I'm a dirtbag, so I like dirtbag things. Rowan knows what I'm talking about.
I mean, I have a exclusive collection of R.L. Stine books, so
Of course you do. Yeah.
Listen, I had every book he ever published at one point when I was a kid.
I'm trying to get there. It's getting hard now because I have so many.
Guess where all mine went? They got donated and thrown in the garbage.
That's a parent problem, I feel like.
Oh, well, listen, it was like one of those things where they're like, come and get all this shit from out of our house after I moved out. And I was like, no, I don't have room for it.
No.
Get rid of it. And now I'm like, what did I do? Rowan is paying like $50 a pop for these books. And I'm like, I had like 400 of them.
They didn't know what they were sitting on.
No.
And also, I don't think I talked about this last week. I think I watched this right after we recorded last week, but I put on The Lighthouse and rewatched it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I didn't talk about it. It's Colton's favorite, though.
I love it.
He is the resident Lighthouse fan. And it was my first time watching it sober. So it was like my first time watching it, really. And you don't need to be high to watch that movie because it's a trip on its own. And yeah, I really like it. It's not my favorite Robert Eggers movie, but you know, it's still good. And last thing I'm going to talk about is the finale for White Lotus came out for season 3. So I watched that the other night. I like White Lotus all the time, every single season, but I don't know. The first season is still my favorite. I see a lot of people online that are like, oh, season 3 is the best, but I don't know. It's good, but it's not season 1, in my opinion. And
I think in season 3, they're a little too like self-aware, you know, because everybody knows the like structure of it and stuff.
Yeah.
And
by now, there's a formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even then, when I was watching it and I saw the blender, and everyone saw the blender online, they're like, okay, Chekhov's blender, like something's going to happen.
Yes, yeah.
So it's kind of like you're waiting for the fake out every time. Nothing will ever compare to like watching season 1 for the first time and just being mind blown.
I felt like after I saw the second season, I had the same feelings towards it as like what were those terrible movies, the like Orient Express movie, and what were all the way at.
Like Knives Out.
Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile.
Knives Out is great.
I was going to say Knives Out was good, but I was going to...
No, the other ones that had like The Haunting in Venice or in like all that stuff. Where I was
Agatha Christie books.
Yeah, where I was just like, the structure, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to suspect all these people that's going to be fake out.
Yeah.
So I've never watched White Lotus because I think I'm allergic to the concept. It's just a bunch of out-of-touch rich people at a hotel and like one person gets murdered, right? And then it's a whodunit.
It's not a whodunit. You get you flash back in time and see how everything transpired, and it's kind of like a slow burn of tension. And there's so many things that can go wrong, and everyone's on vacation, but everyone's an asshole. So it's like, how do they ruin everything? And everything goes into this big chaotic mess.
Yeah. I don't know if it's my sort of thing, just because I checked out on Succession purely just because I was like, I hate all these like out of touch rich people following them. And I don't know. Maybe I should check it out sometime. You guys have all watched it, which is crazy. So
yeah,
it's really
I'm
good.
the only one out here. Yeah,
I only watch.
Usually it's the complete opposite. Like you're always like up on everything.
Yeah, that is weird. Honestly, I feel like I don't know. It could go either way for Colton. He might absolutely hate it, but it is a commentary on how rich people.
Yeah,
suck.
I'm getting really sick of like everybody just doing the same eat the rich stories. Like, Rowan and I probably reviewed 3 of them or something on Now Slaying already this year. So it's like, if it's another one of those, I'm sure I've seen its archetype represented in one of the other 24 pieces of media I've seen that kind of have the same sort of shtick going, I guess.
I understand. I would make the argument that White Lotus is, I don't know, the tension is immaculate, and that's why I watch it. And also the performances and the actors, like Sydney Sweeney, Jennifer Coolidge in the first season, Alexandria, is it Alexandria or Alexandra Daddario? Yeah. So it's kind of iconic. So yeah, I don't think it's just like another one of these type of things.
You know what it is? It's Colton's back at work, so his pockets are fat now, and he doesn't want the lower class to watch it and uprise against him.
God.
Now that's what's going on.
He doesn't want to be
I don't want to watch it and then be cast in season 5.
That'd be awkward, man. Colton, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little while since our last episode, so I've actually watched some stuff for a change. The first thing probably worth mentioning is I checked out Mimi Cave's new movie, Holland. Rowan, I know you started watching this.
I didn't finish it yet.
Okay. To be honest... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do plan on finishing. I probably finish it tonight.
Okay. I mean, not finishing this movie is probably the proper response to it, to be honest. It is insane because you and I raved over her directorial debut, Fresh, on Now Slaying a couple of years ago. I remember we were both like right on the cusp of giving it a slay.
I called her the next Jordan Peele. That's how good she is gonna be.
Exactly. And then she goes and puts out Holland, which is an Amazon Prime video movie. It stars Nicole Kidman, which we've all seen recently in Baby Girl, and essentially she teams up with Gael Garcia Bernal, and basically together they kind of like have suspicions of her husband taking all these business trips. And essentially it's just like, okay, what is the husband doing? This is a thriller/horror movie. There's only a couple of things he could be doing that would be at all interesting. And then it takes like an hour and 20 minutes before it reveals. And I'm like, anyone with half a brain had this figured out in 15 minutes. And you're just sitting there as like these two like kind of bumble around and try and figure it out. Anyways, it was incredibly boring. It's probably like the dullest thing I've watched this year. Like, obviously there's still some like technical know-how on display. Obviously Nicole Kidman's still good. So it's not like a complete flop, but it was just like so boring. I couldn't believe how boring it was. It's like probably the most time I've spent like on my phone when I'm one of those people that like I actively put my phone away when I'm watching a movie, especially by a director that like I love their debut. So yeah, it very much lost me. It was like snail's pace of the movie, and everyone had it figured out, I'm sure an hour before the movie revealed it. So yeah, she lost the juice is what I'll say after her debut. I'm disappointed. Hopefully the next one will be a lot better. But yeah, disappointed with Holland. I also did a double feature at the theaters last weekend where the first thing I saw was The Woman in the Yard. I don't know why we didn't cover this after the fact on Now Slaying. I think maybe the scheduling or something. I think like Jill and Rowan, were you guys both supposed to do it at one point?
Yeah, but I couldn't.
Oh, okay. You backed out. Okay. So yeah. I guess that's what happened. But surprisingly, this was actually a good Blumhouse movie. I would say it's probably their best thing since Megan. So it's been a little while. And it stars Daniel Deadwyler as a woman who recently lost her husband in a car accident and now has to raise her 2 kids on this farmstead as she tends to, the heartbreak of losing her husband, and then also her injured leg. And of course, in all the midst of this, a mysterious woman appears in the front yard. And it's like, oh, is it an actual woman? Is it a ghost? Is it some entity? Is it a metaphor? What is this woman in the yard? And honestly, it's a very simple premise, and a lot of it is just essentially the people in the house kind of reacting to basically like, who is this woman? Why is she in our yard? And it's just like, this kind of presence lingering in the background of a lot of shots. So it's very simple, but what I'll say is that I thought it was pretty good directing, just in terms of like exhibiting restraint of not like revealing everything within the first 20 minutes. Like typically a Blumhouse movie, you got to have a big kill within the first 10 minutes and then it's just kind of stupid and downhill from there on out. This at least restrains itself, so like it only gets kind of dumb in my opinion in the last 30. It's like elevated horror, or at least a slow burn horror for at least the first probably hour, and it's a lot more of like a character piece and a lot of acting obviously, and like conflict between this family unit, which I thought was really good. And then of course it becomes a Blumhouse movie, but not as dumb as a lot of other Blumhouse movies. Kind of had some interesting twists, and I was like, you know what, it was worse in the end than it was in the beginning, but it didn't completely lose me. So I did enjoy it in the end. I wish we kind of did it on the show. It would have been actually fun to cover, but I don't think the scheduling worked out. So
have
it's
to
all
wait
good.
until the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe in our wrap-up episode. And then I did what any self-respecting 32-year-old man would do after seeing that, walking straight out of a Blumhouse movie and into a Minecraft movie, which I'm kind of surprised no one else here watched. It's like the biggest movie ever. But
I'm going to get stuck going to it at some point, probably next week.
So this was just like a truly bizarre experience. It's a theater experience unlike anything I've ever had. I'm sure we've all seen now like the numerous videos circulating online of like people reciting lines or like cheering, losing their minds, throwing stuff at the screen, like all this sort of nonsense. And my theater experience was like that, like largely like that. When I bought a ticket to it, it was just earlier in the week, and it was just like me and then like 4 or 5 other people. And obviously I was a bit late running into the movie, so I was coming in like while they were showing some trailers, and it was absolutely sold out. Like I had to like, kind of push people to get into my seat, ask someone to move. Like it was a complete thing just to get seated for this movie. And then I was like shocked at how many people were reciting the lines like along with the movie. Like it happened at least a dozen times, like people going Flint and Steel or The Nether or I Am Steve or Chicken Jockey, like all this shit that I don't know what it is because I've only ever played Minecraft for like an hour in my life, but like the whole audience was losing their minds. I think the movie's absolute garbage. like it's terrible. I'm a huge fan of like Napoleon Dynamite, or at least when I watched it, I thought it was a really fun movie. I haven't revisited it since it came out, and it's this one's directed by Jared Hess, and I saw some people saying like, oh, this is like the Napoleon Dynamite sequel. Like it's, comedically. I'm like, have you guys seen Napoleon Dynamite? Like a Minecraft movie is not Napoleon Dynamite 2. Not remotely. It's just so ugly. It makes no sense. But you know what? Like the kids loved it.
Let the kids have their stuff, man. It's like Five Nights at Freddy. You gotta let the kids
Five
have
Nights
their
at
stuff.
Freddy's makes this movie like the Five Nights at Freddy's is like Citizen Kane compared to this movie. like don't get me wrong, Five Nights at Freddy's is not good, but like that felt like somewhat of a coherent story. This is like, I don't know, man. It's just kind of like random TikTok memes, the movie. It like felt like we were building up to like an explosion from the cinema like every 10 minutes. Like the, kids jumping up and flossing really quick or yelling like, what the Sigma at the screen. Like it was a constant murmur of just people talking about how like the movie we were watching wasn't accurate, or how it must be a mod, or how like this is a reference to that. It was I don't know. It was like I was almost it was like I was watching a movie in like a foreign country or something like that, So I felt very old. But yeah, the kids loved it. So I guess cinema is alive and well. I don't know. I guess it's interesting to see a demographic that's much younger than me like showing up and seemingly genuinely loving a lot of this movie. Obviously there's some teenagers there watching ironically as well, but it was just a lot of people loved it. So I didn't, but yeah, a Minecraft movie. It's an A from me. Speaking of kids, the last thing I checked out, which is also a really, I know, not a great transition. Is Netflix's new hit show, Adolescence, which has no one else watched this year?
I've got it on my
Is
list.
it on Netflix?
Yes.
But Mike, you pirate everything. It doesn't matter if it's on Netflix or not. Like,
I know.
So yeah, Adolescence, in my opinion, is a masterpiece. Like literally, like over the course of 4 episodes, it follows the impact on a family and this greater community of when a 13-year-old boy is accused of murder and sort of the devastation that surrounds that event. And it's not so much like a whodunit, more so a whydunit. And on a like societal scale, it sort of interrogates what in our modern age is kind of prompting young boys to be violent or to be hateful towards certain groups. I thought it was just, it's obviously subject matter that we've seen dealt with before, but I felt like this was like firing on all cylinders. Like the writing, the acting, the cinematography, it was just so technically impressive to me as someone who has worked on set and has seen 80 background actors on let's say it's this show that's set in a school. It's like, okay, we got all these actors, right? They filmed this show. Each episode is a 50 to 60 minute one take, like true one take, no digital stitching, nothing. And the technical prowess it takes to have everything play out perfectly with stellar acting, stellar writing, really inventive and impressive camera moves is just incredible to me. Apparently for every episode, they'd rehearse it for 3 weeks straight, and then they'd spend a week each day filming 2 takes a day until they kind of got the magic that they wanted. And it was just as I was watching it, I was just kind of surprised and shocked at how good everything played out. Like the main kid at the center of this show, he's never acted in anything before. And apparently his first acting gig ever is episode 3, and I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens in it, but it's like a performance that has so many levels and is essentially a two-hander for an hour that is just incredible. Like the performance that he gives and the places he has to go and kind of the revelations and the reactions that come out in that episode is insane. This kid, I don't have his name in front of me, but he's definitely going places if he doesn't just get typecast into deranged kid sort of idea. But in this show is just incredible. I watched the director's kind of some of his other stuff. He did Burning Point, or is it Burning Point? Boiling Point, a movie from a couple years ago, which was also a one take kind of pot boiler inside of a restaurant as a bunch of mayhem plays out within 90 minutes. And this is just it feels so much grander and more important. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. It's probably not for everybody because it's not a true crime drama or anything. Once again, it's exploring how that impact or what happened impacted people kind of over the course of a year, over the course of 4 episodes, right? So it's a little bit different than probably what's on Netflix most of the time, or what people who would be attracted to the first episode might not like where it goes in the later episodes. But yeah, I thought it was incredible. I absolutely adored it. I'd recommend it to pretty much anyone to at least check out the first episode. I just, it's great stuff. It's a great show.
What a turnaround. Because I'm pretty sure last episode you were talking about how everyone was talking about it and you'd never watch it because you don't watch television.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I decided to throw it on one night. I think it was literally because the show I'm working on now is a Netflix show. So some people when we were scouting were discussing, aspects of it. And so I was hearing things and I was like, you know what, I'll throw on the first 2 episodes just in case somebody mentions it around me. I have something to say. And I was completely engrossed after 2 episodes, but had to go to bed. So the next night, as soon as I got home, I threw on the other 2 episodes. And I guess since it's a manageable 4 episodes, it's a complete story, I felt that was easier to digest, I guess, than just, going into an 8-hour thing. But yeah, Adolescence on Netflix. Check it out. I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a shill now because I'm being paid partially by Netflix, but, it's still great.
Shill.
Yeah. Sorry. Mike, what have you been consuming? What have you been watching?
Well, not as much as everyone else. I don't know. I just had one of those couple of weeks where I felt I was just constantly at stuff and couldn't and you know what? Part of it is, okay, so my issue is 2 things. One, I'm doing battle pass grinding in video games, which I hate.
Which one?
Marvel Rivals.
Oh,
I finished
nice.
Yeah, it was I was also playing some Overwatch, but I didn't buy that one, so that was, at least there was that. But then it's hilarious because I started playing Minecraft again. Just funny that you brought that up.
Oh God.
I've been thinking about it.
A couple of my friends were playing it and they were like, "Oh, you should jump in." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I have it on like my PlayStation and my computer, and I was like kind of enjoying it, and I realized that it was a really good way to like just kind of unwind and chill. And then it was making me think about my other game that I loved, which is vaguely Minecrafty, 7 Days to Die, and how I haven't played that in like 6 months. So then I had to dust that off and reinstall it, and then I got sucked into starting a new game of that. I don't know why, because I got to the point where it was like I was so far into it, and I was just like, I had all the best gear and like I couldn't really do anything, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna start a new game. So I've been doing a lot of that, but I've been watching like some TV and stuff, like obviously, like Jill said, White Lotus finished, and I enjoyed that. I kind of liked it because there was a couple people at work that were also watching it, and like they'd always come in first thing in the morning and be like, "Oh my God, did you watch?" And I'm like, "No, I don't get to watch it until like the next day," which means I have to stay off like my phone pretty much all day, because before it's even over, somehow people are like spoiling it. Yeah. So
I don't engage with the stuff at all, obviously, because I don't watch the show. But yeah, it's everywhere every week on like social media. Just it's impossible to avoid Mondays.
Oh yeah, and it's like literally before the episode is over, there's already 80 like fucking memes. Yeah, and I'm like, I can't take this. Like, so I'm honestly kind of glad that it's over for that reason, because I'm just sick of having to. But yeah, I really enjoyed the season, and the actors in it were like chef's kiss, and there was a lot of nudity, which is fun, but
incest.
I don't know, I'm just it's I find watching TV stressful. I'm just glad it's over. I hate having to like keep up on stuff, and like Yellow Jackets, I've been watching that, and that comes on like Friday, and then White Lotus comes on Sunday. So that's like the only 2 shows that I regularly watch. And I thought that this week's episode was the finale of Yellow Jackets, because I didn't really look it up, because it felt like a finale, but it's not. So I'm like, fuck, now I still got 1 more week.
Oh my God.
I just want to like chill. It's stressful.
Do you watch The Last of Us? Because that comes back like the day that this is posting. It comes back.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't remember what happened at the end of the first season. Like, I kind of vaguely remember some of it, but it feels like it's been 2 years since that came out.
It has been.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it probably like literally was. Yeah. And I loved the game, but I only got like an hour into it, the first one, because it was one of those things where it's like I was playing it and I was enjoying it, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, this other new one came out and I don't have space on my PlayStation. Guess I gotta delete Last of Us. So yeah, oopsie.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to like look up a YouTube like summary of the first season or something just to catch up.
I see they've already renewed it for another season too.
Oh really?
Yeah, because it's getting split into 2 seasons. They're splitting
probably
this
even more than 2. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, if you're really thinking about it, yeah, you could do it longer if you wanted. But if they do a part 3, then that's another season on top of that. So
I don't remember. Did the first season like encompass all of the first game, or only part of it?
Yeah, and very rushed. Yeah. Like I think they did it in 9 episodes or something. And
yeah, it was like
the second game
a lot.
The second game is like pretty much 3 times as long as the first game.
Okay.
And then the second season is only 7 episodes as opposed to the 9, which was already rushed. So yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be at least 2 seasons. I'd say like 2.5 to cover the second game, and then as Anthony said, we'll see if they add anything else on there to kind of finish up that season or wrap up the story a bit differently. We'll have to see if they pull Game of Thrones
they'll pad it out to get like another season out of it anyway.
Yeah,
because they know they got their cash cow. But so I guess I'll be watching that. Oh great, that's more stress now.
Yeah, that's what it was bringing to mind, because you were talking about the stress of like watching and keeping up with TV each week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got another
because
like 7 weeks.
I'm usually just rewatching old like shitty Real Housewives and stuff where it's like I know everything that happens anyway, so it doesn't matter. So other than that, I actually haven't watched much in the way of movies. I have this like bad habit lately. Like I don't sleep much and I get really tired, but like I can't fall asleep. But every night I'm like, oh, I'll think during the day, I really want to watch X or Y movie. And then by the time I like get home and kind of like, you know, make food and do what I got to do and go out and run any errands, and I get home and then I'm like, okay, now I'll sit down and watch the movie. And then I realize I have like an hour before I have to be asleep. So I just keep like, oh, I'll watch it tomorrow. And then it's like, oh, it's been 2 weeks and I've been trying to watch a movie. I did manage to squeeze in. So there's this one on the Criterion channel that is like an indie Canadian movie from the 90s that I saw on the movie channel when I was like in my teens. And I remember I was like, ooh, it's, you know, like taboo. It was like a gay movie. And it's called Lilies. And I actually was like kind of shocked that it was on Criterion channel because it's like very like 90s indie Canadian. Like it probably never got anything other than like a VHS release. And it's this like, it feels like kind of like an Oscar Wilde inspired movie. It was based on a play, but in the movie they're performing a play and it's like in this prison in Quebec, and this like bishop comes to like hear someone's like last confession or whatever, and it turns out that the prisoner is somebody that he knew when he was young, and they kind of trap him there and perform this play that is their lives when they were like teenagers or whatever, or young men. And it kind of keeps slipping back and forth between like them in the prison performing a play, but it also like turns into like a movie, and it's still all the same characters, and it's like all dudes, like all the women are played by men because obviously it's prisoners playing the roles, even though it does like slip into the like actual location. And it's really wild and really cool, and I kind of like remembered thinking that it was meh when I was a teenager, but I guess I didn't like appreciate the artfulness of it. And it's beautiful and I love it and I recommend it. It's on Criterion channel. Watch it. It's brilliant, beautiful. The acting I think is beautiful. It's got great visuals. The writing is great. It's got like a really interesting, unique vibe. And Criterion channel always like yanks stuff off like every month. So definitely check it out before it leaves. And the only other thing I watched was, oh my God, I watched for like the 10th time in my life, a classic lesser Wes Craven, Summer of Fear with Linda Blair, which is based on the Lois Duncan novel, Summer of Fear. And Lois Duncan, as we all know, wrote the novel of I Know What You Did Last Summer. So it's kind of like that same vibe, but it's in the 70s, and it's got lots of really big, cool hair, and Fran Drescher is in it.
Oh my God.
As Linda Blair's best friend, and she's so underused, and like she's so good, and it's just so funny. I'm trying to remember where it is that it takes place, because it's like this family, and Linda Blair is like the teenage daughter, and the mother's sister and husband get in a car accident, and so their teenage daughter comes to stay with them because she's now an orphan, and Linda Blair is like kind of like slowly starts discovering like she's a witch and she's like causing shit to happen. So teenage witchcraft, always a banger. But yeah, I'm trying to remember where it is, and she's from like the Ozarks and has this really come and go accent that's really interesting. And Fran Drescher just has like an absolute like just the Fran Drescher accent, and it's just so fucking out of place. like where did you come from? She just like walked out of Queens into this like what Midwest or wherever, like what like it's comical. It's not the greatest movie, but it's good. Lesser TV movie, Wes Craven. I enjoy it. I watch it like once every few years. Honestly, like that's really it. I have nothing. I just have been coasting for a couple of weeks. Like that's okay. Let's just be honest. Yeah. So sorry.
So with that, let's get into our film for this evening. We're going back to 1997, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Not Jurassic Park, The Lost World.
Not Jurassic Park 2.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that if you're a layman. And why we chose this, I guess this is on me, eh?
Yeah, I put a joke in the group chat earlier that I was writing up why I picked this movie, and then I was like, wait, I didn't pick this movie. I picked the host. What am I doing?
Yeah, so I mentioned last episode that I had rewatched this in recent times, and I wanted to have a discussion about it just because, we did the first one, and, I think we discussed, like, why it kind of fit into the criteria on a horror podcast as best as we could. And with this one, I just felt compelled that there may be more of a case for this one than even the first one. And I just thought, have some fun. And I knew Colton would just respect me fully for this pick for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's the one Rowan pick that I can't make fun of, I guess.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, we're going to need to talk about it. So let's get into the trailer, and then we'll be back with the synopsis and first experiences.
Hey, what's that sound?
Something big.
4 years ago, a movie captured the imagination of the entire planet.
Go as fast as you can.
On May 23rd, Steven Spielberg will take you to a world beyond imagination.
It's coming back!
The Lost World. This film is not yet rated. Starts Friday, May 23rd.
The Lost World, Jurassic Park was directed by Steven Spielberg and written by David Koepp, and the story is as follows. 4 years after the disaster at Jurassic Park, and with InGen on the brink of bankruptcy, former founder and park owner John Hammond assembles a team to travel to Site B, an island 87 miles away from the original park, to document and photograph the dinosaurs roaming free in a more natural habitat. However, in an effort to keep InGen from going under, the new CEO sends a larger, far deadlier team to catch, sedate, and transport as many dinosaurs as possible to San Diego to be used in an upcoming Jurassic Park attraction. Will life find a way? Or will this lost world be found and pillaged?
So, first experiences, is this our first time seeing it? Or are we dinosaur boys like Colton? And, this has to be like all these movies. This is like prime Colton beat off material.
Oh, come on. We don't have to go there.
You're right. Come on all of the Jurassic Park movies. Anyway.
Fuck.
That Jill cackle has to be a soundbite.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Cackle.
Yeah.
Is this our first time seeing it? Jill, have you seen The Lost World Jurassic Park before?
Okay. Funny story. It's not actually that funny. But so I didn't have this logged on Letterboxd, and so I also didn't recall ever watching it until I got to like the long grass scene, and I was like, oh, I've seen this movie before because I married a dinosaur boy like Colton, and he only puts on like the same movies over and over again. And this was Jurassic Park is one of them. So I did see this, I think, within the last couple of years. So yeah, it was kind of like a surprise for me. What about you, Anthony?
No, for me, I actually remember going to the theaters back in the day when this one came out,
so
and
jealous.
I was super stoked about it. I was just a little wee lad going with my dad, but I remember like the thing that has stuck with me since I've seen that was the giant RV getting pushed over on the side of the cliff. It's always the most iconic moment in the movie. So, yeah, it wasn't my first time watching it, but it was a good refresher because it's been a while. And I hate to say it, but when I first watched it, I loved it as a kid. But then as time went on, I was like, man, this is not a very good sequel. But damn, did my opinion change rewatching it, because I was like, I'm just having a good ass time watching this one.
Hell yeah, brother.
So yeah. Mike, what about you?
I don't know why. Well, okay, yes, I do. I was gonna say I don't know why I never saw this back when it came out, but I just I guess I didn't give a fuck at that point. I was like, oh, I only want to watch like hardcore horror and shit, and this was like not. No, this was like, to me, a movie that I, watched when I was like 12. So I was like, no way, man. So I just like it, just even though Julianne Moore was in it, it was like,
Yeah, come on.
Not on my radar at all. I know. It's Mother, but, like, that's just the way it is.
I know
Bro, you've seen this like 50
I know I shouldn't
times.
be surprised, but I'm like kind of surprised by that.
I mean, listen, I sometimes do not pay attention to the shit people do for a paycheck.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and just like, I think famously she said that she took this role purely to pay off like her divorce, I think is what she said.
Oh, yeah.
And then also the opportunity to work with Spielberg. But she said like the money,
Yeah.
For the divorce situation was very important.
Yeah, I can see that coming through in every scene.
What do you mean? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I've definitely seen this. I, like Anthony, definitely saw this in the theater when it came out. I remember seeing I don't have any memories of it, though. I remember clearly seeing the first one in the theater, and I remember clearly seeing the third one in the theater, but I know I went to this, I just can't really remember. But other than that, other than when I rewatched it there, a couple weeks ago, before watching it for this, I don't know if I ever rewatched this one or not. I feel like I just always rewatch the first one, and then, that's good. And I've notoriously said, like, I still haven't watched any of the last three ones. I do plan on catching up with them now that I figured I was reviewing this, so I went out and bought like the big 4K box set collection, all six of them. So, I'll watch them now. But yeah, so not my first time seeing this. Who do we have left? Just Colton?
Just me. Yeah, obviously this isn't my first time seeing this. I honestly think I've seen this movie more than the original. Possibly just based off of the time when it came out, this might be my most seen movie. I'm not 100% sure.
Troll 2.
Obviously, it came out at the period. I was like, 5 years old? I was a huge dinosaur kid. This was like peak marketing for like children with like toys and tie-ins to restaurants and whatnot.
McDonald's, Happy Meals.
Yeah, I grew up in Labrador, so we never had a theater and we didn't have McDonald's. But still, we had all the Jurassic Park, The Lost World toys everywhere. Like, I had a Velociraptor hand puppet that, like, when you pressed the little button on the top, it would roar. I had the toys of, like, the baby T-Rex with, like, the damage on his leg that, you'd put back on, put the cast on and heal him. I had... I think 3 copies of the board game because people just kept buying it for me as the dinosaur kid for like my birthday or for Christmas or whatnot. And of course I had that really badass VHS with the lenticular front of the T-Rex like bursting through the logo. So I think just as a kid, I probably just put this in more often just because once you hit a certain point in the movie, it is kind of just like dinosaur action for a good chunk. So I honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you how many times I've seen this movie, but similar to Anthony, as I got older, I kind of soured a little bit on it, or at least had kind of this idea in my mind that it's like, oh yeah, it's good. Obviously we got the RV sequence. We got the don't go into the long grass. We got like all these sections that are fun, but I seem to remember these like long periods of like boredom. Or like nothing much was going on. So even when I was throwing it on today, I was kind of like, all right, let's see. Like, how dull is this? And yeah, maybe like Anthony, maybe it wasn't quite as dull as I remembered. It was, yeah, I've seen it so many times. This is like Colton DNA movie.
Bingo.
I would say it's probably the closest you can get. I would say, other than maybe, I don't know, some Disney movies or something. I mean, I was 5 years old. I mean, I was watching this all the time. It was like probably one of the few movies that I was allowed to watch where, people would die in it or there'd be like blood on screen, right? So it was huge, like when I was growing up.
Not
This babysitter.
This is really one of those sad moments when we don't do video that people just can't see the pure joy in Colton's face right now of
I literally spent
Jurassic Park.
I spent like an hour this afternoon Googling around just to see like if I could find pictures of like the hand puppet and stuff I had. And I did find pictures of it, and they're selling for like $100 used now on eBay.
You know what?
Yeah, I just have it like sitting at home in the garage, like in Labrador.
I was going to say, I did the same exact thing today because I recall I had the sweet ass giant RV toy, like the big medical truck. I had that. I had the giant like T-Rex with the stomach that would, you could feed a human down its throat, but like you could pull it out from its stomach.
What the fuck?
Nice.
Yeah.
I always have this bad boy right on my desk. This is like original Jurassic Park robotic T-Rex. I got this in the hospital when I was like 4 years old.
Sick.
Huge.
But yeah, like you watch this movie and I could say the first thing that I thought maybe 10 minutes in where you're seeing these giant trucks trying to capture those, like, or it was probably like 15, 20 minutes in where they were trying to capture the dinosaurs and the trucks. And I was like, the only thing that came into my head was like, man, this movie is super toyetic, like made for kids, like Colton saying, like,
oh yeah,
every little thing, the vehicles, it's, yeah, nostalgia definitely hit with this one.
Well, I mean, let's just, that's a good point to start off with to get in talking about this. Although I will say the lenticular VHS, I have a sealed copy of it on my shelf.
This is a pissing contest for who
yeah,
has.
This is a Jurassic Park pissing contest right now. I mean, I have a
Jurassic piss.
I have a sealed copy of that and a sealed copy of the original on VHS. Just
Okay, but is it a real VHS or like one of those like McDonald's Happy Meal ones?
No, I wish
it's
it
not
was
the same thing.
Yeah, I wish it was the McDonald's Happy Meal one. But yeah, I think that's a great place to start, actually. It's just like, this, to me, this is like one of the few movies I think about in the 90s that's just like, this was created for toys. Like Anthony said, like, this was like, oh, we're going to get every single little fucker on Earth with this one.
Oh my god, that's why like the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, oh, this is a hack job, literally.
I can't
for
with
marketing.
you.
Like that's why this movie exists. I was like, it was a book, right? And then I looked at it and they're like, yeah, they were like pressuring him to put a book out. I was like, oh my god, everything makes so much sense now. It's like, we need our toys, we need our Happy Meals, we need our board games.
I just kept thinking about like the meme, the Scarface meme, where they're just like laughing and all of them, they're just like counting money. I'm like, that's every executive when they greenlit this.
I think literally why babies, like baby dinosaurs, feature so prominently in the movie is just because of like that kid's demographic of like, oh, they're little like me, Like I think there's literally that, look how cute they are. Like when I was watching it today, I was like, oh my god, this baby Stegosaurus or the baby T-Rex, or I think there's like a baby Triceratops at some point, like in one of the cages, and it's just like, oh yeah, like as a kid, like I loved seeing all these little guys running around.
Same thing with like Star Wars, the porgs and everything, trying to cater to people who appreciate cute things.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the Ewoks, right? And God, is it Return of the Jedi? God, I couldn't remember the name of the movie. It was just like that's kind of like marketing and commercialism and materialism. Like, the Star Wars movies were like the first big movies that did that, right? And like made George Lucas filthy rich because of it. So yeah, this was just definitely like merchandise central. The Lost World was just everywhere. Like if I could go to my North Mart, because Walmart doesn't exist in Labrador, and see,
I was gonna say, how did you get the toys?
Yeah, so I remember as a kid going to the toy section and there literally being like a wall of the Lost World Jurassic Park merch, just like all these different plastic toys of different dinosaurs, the Pachycephalosaurus there that can ram the Jeep, or it was just like everywhere. I remember being upset as a kid that there was like pterodactyls that you could buy, and then the pterodactyls didn't really feature in the movie whatsoever, but they featured in an earlier draft of the movie, which is obviously probably why they existed as toys, right? Because they used to be integral. Yeah,
the last
obviously.
Shot of the movie is a pterodactyl, but I think dinosaurs are a really good medium to commercialize for children, especially like young boys, because it's so safe, right?
Unless you're marketing to Mike. Mike was unimpressed.
Well, let's not get into that.
Mike also wasn't 5 years old when this movie came out either, right? Like it was just
exactly.
I was the peak target demographic. Like I could not avoid this,
Yeah, you're right. It just like hits hard, I guess, for that like age demographic. Because I guess, I would have. This was 97, so Yeah, I would have been like also that age that they're targeting too.
Yeah, this is skipping like way further in the movie, but Spielberg also does this sort of thing with the Jurassic Park movies. Like obviously Tim and Lex featuring so prominently in the first one. I wouldn't say Kelly is like that great of a character here, but there's like a sequence near the end of this movie where it's literally like a little kid is having a nightmare or wakes up in the middle of the night, sees a dinosaur in his backyard, and his parents are just kind of like, oh, what the hell? Like go back to bed, and it's like such a Spielbergian moment. But when I was watching it today, I was just like, that was me as a kid, like literally, like having nightmares about dinosaurs all the time, going in and bothering my parents, right? Like, and not actually having the T-Rex in your backyard. But it was just, as I was watching, it's like, that's kind of like a Spielberg moment that when you go and watch like the rest of the Jurassic Park movies obviously without him directing, or the Jurassic World movies, they kind of lose that. There isn't really like, that childlike wonder.
I have a note.
Even if it is like just kind of like what the hell's in my backyard, right? It's something that kind of makes it feel a little bit different.
Definitely, I agree. There's that Steven Spielberg magic, I like to call it, that is nostalgic. It's kind of for everybody, very like family oriented. But I was watching that same scene with the young boy waking up to the dinosaur, and I remembered back, and I think it was Jurassic World Dominion, if I'm thinking of the right one, where there's a similar scene. And so I see them taking original scenes from, the first trilogy and superimposing it into the newer Jurassic World movies.
Yeah, it's probably in Fallen Kingdom where the Indoraptor sneaks into the bedroom is probably the scene you're thinking of, where someone's like asleep and it kind of crawls in and like peels back the blanket sort of thing, which it is like a similar scene structurally, like a kid obviously being afraid and woken up by like a dinosaur in their actual environment, but the way it's shot and the feeling of the scene is very different in the Jurassic World iteration.
So, the kind of cold open to this film. Yeah. Do we want to start with that? Because I feel like throughout this whole thing, I've got to kind of make my case of
well, I think so as well, because don't get me wrong, I love this choice, but I think I said on last episode, this literally does not have a genre tag when you go like 6 genres deep as horror, right?
Which I'm very surprised. I will say that.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, let's make your case. I'll say, like, I assume by the end of this episode, we'll have a roundtable discussion on, is this a horror movie or not? But yeah, I mean, the cold open's a great place to start, obviously. I think.
I mean, so we get, like, to me, like, we get, all these, all these little fuckers. I can't even remember what they're called.
Compys.
Like, is that what they're called? Yeah.
Compys, yeah.
And, we have the kid running off into the woods. These are my favorite dinosaurs in this. I will say this. I love how, very early on in the movie, we're told they're just kind of like hyenas or like jackals and scavengers. But yeah, and we get like the murder of the kid with the parents like running.
She's not murdered, though.
She's fine.
Yeah.
John Hammond says she's fine.
What?
Yeah. Excuse me, the corporation says she's okay.
Do you think she's murdered? Did she actually get murdered?
I mean, to me, the face of the mother probably says it all when she's like screaming, looking obviously down, and all these I mean, we see later on the damage these tiny dinosaurs can do. Yeah. So I would assume she's dead. There's no real, if she was fine, the mother would be like, okay, let's go.
That scene is from the first book, and they put it into this movie.
Yeah, see, I've never read the books or anything, but
yeah, from what I understand, the Lost World book, it basically bears pretty much no resemblance to this movie, other than
this is from the first
the
book.
RV
I meant
sequence.
to say.
Yeah, I know, but like kind of. They didn't really adapt the second book, right? So they kind of took some pieces from the first book. There's also like some aspects. I think there's like a T-Rex eating someone in a river that has been in no Jurassic Park movie until this new one coming out this summer, So they're still kind of like mining this material of these two books. But the Lost World Jurassic Park, I think there's the RV sequence, and then there's one other thing that they took, and I can't remember, and they adapted it from the Lost World. But It's from what I've heard, it's basically like 90% of the Lost World book bears no resemblance to this movie. It was essentially the studio wanted Michael Crichton to have like source material that they could say that this movie was based off of, just due to the success and how the first movie kind of came to pass.
It's like when Netflix is gonna do an original movie now, and they'll pay someone to bang out a hack job novel and put it out like 2 months before, and then it'll be like based on the novel by, and it's like, really, it's a novelization, but they technically put it out first. So
yeah, it's a longer conversation, but I've been reading for years now of like it being harder and harder just to break in as a screenwriter, especially with like original IP or an original idea. Oftentimes they'll literally say like, well, why don't you develop this as a novella or a novel or, you know, a comic book or video game, something first that basically they can kind of see that, oh, at least it has a following before they're even willing to, you know, greenlight the script. So this is like kind of like an ancient idea of that.
But yeah, I was just going to say, so this is like, you know, for my first case, this is like a very typical, which I'm going to make the argument throughout that to me, this is, you know, it's a monster movie. Like to me, this is like a cold open in any monster movie horror where we're getting like a death right away, maybe not on screen. And obviously, you know, because this is aimed at kids, all the deaths. Although we won't say that. There is some deaths on screen on this one that are actually you know, I've got a bigger speech about that later. But yeah, so this scene is my first case into it, and you know, that just fantastic transition of
well, that's kind of why I would argue that it's almost played for a comedic beat as well, right? Don't get me wrong. The mom screaming in horror at obviously her daughter either dead or horribly disfigured by these little creatures. It's cut to Ian Malcolm yawning with palm trees behind him. So for a split second, you're like, what the hell? How did Ian Malcolm show up on this beach? You know, it's just such a random little note. And then it's just like, you know, it's almost like he's bored at like what is happening here. Like, oh, we've done this before, you know, that it kind of undercuts the horror a little bit, or at least it's a silly transition for sure.
Well, you got to lighten it up for the kids a little bit there. You still got to sell those toys.
They want to make you instantly forget that a little girl just got eviscerated.
Yeah.
Like, she's probably just, like, bloody bones by that point.
And then, I mean, honestly, to me, I don't know how, like, you guys felt, but, like, to me, this is where, like, this first bit, like, we got to introduce all the new characters and stuff. Like, I could see where people would be like, oh, this is, like, kind of slow. I mean, this is, like, the real test of, you know, can Ian be the focus of these stories? And you know, we got to get like Julianne Moore, Vince Vaughn, who obviously like wasn't Vince Vaughn at the time.
No.
But I thought like overall, honestly, like I saw a lot of, you know, I checked out Letterboxd reviews and like critic reviews and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of people kind of like chat on the cast of this, like the characters and stuff. Like I honestly liked a lot of the characters. Like they didn't bug me that much. I thought like some of the, I like some of them more than I like the characters from the first Jurassic Park.
So what I'll say,
I just found they were interchangeable personally, but that's just me.
What I'll say is that Ian Malcolm in this movie definitely feels different than he does in the original Jurassic Park for sure, and maybe that's just because he can't be like the wise-cracking kind of like side character, always talking about chaos theory and being a little bit dreamy and whatnot. And, you know, it's like, oh, you have a girlfriend, you have a daughter, you know, he's more settled down. But he is kind of bad in the very beginning of this movie in these couple of scenes, I think. Like, I think it takes him a while to kind of find his footing in the movie, or at least maybe it's just his style of performance grew on me, or maybe it's just having so much familiarity with like Jeff Goldblum and how he is now, where he's almost like a caricature of himself and like everything I've seen him in. So it might just be like retrospectively, it's hard for me to kind of admire this performance. But I do think like the sequence, like, is it kind of boring? Yeah, but it is like packed. it is packed full of information. Like they're giving like what happened to Jurassic Park, the crumbling of InGen, the lysine deficiency, which most people do not pay attention to remotely in this movie, but it comes up a couple of times just in terms of like, oh, there was a safeguard in case these, monsters, these dinosaurs got off the island, which is interesting. There's, Lex and Tim being there, which I think is crazy that they haven't threw a bunch of money at these two actors just to bring them back for one of the Jurassic World movies. They did it to everybody else, but seeing them here, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice just to see these characters back. Like, they're not in anything else. So it's just kind of interesting. There's just a lot on the go there. I think it's kind of like it is just kind of dull, but they are packing in a lot of like exposition and just like trying to get this, this movie going. Why would Ian Malcolm go back to the island, right? Like they're spending a lot of time answering that question.
Yeah.
I did laugh pretty hard that they even had the line for Vince Vaughn to like bring up the fact that Ian Malcolm's daughter's black. And I was just like, what a line. Like, what? The 97 was a wild
Oh, yeah.
time.
What was it? Like, no family resemblance there or something like that.
I got a note that says, Ian Malcolm's daughter is black. Is Jurassic Park woke? If it was modern day, man, people would be upset.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is like jumping ahead, but I did want to, I think the first thing that really jumps out at me when I watch this, once, we get our motley crew onto the island and stuff, is obviously this is like the point in this series, right? This is where Spielberg relied like way heavier on CGI in this film than he did the first one, and obviously that'll continue on for the rest of these. But I thought like other than a couple scenes, like I thought it still looked pretty good. Like for 97, I thought there was a lot of this that looked pretty good, and you could tell like a lot of the stuff that they used practical. I already see Mike making faces.
Yeah, I see Mike's reaction, and at this point in the movie, I actually would kind of agree with Mike that the couple of times when they've shown the dinosaurs, it is in very harsh, like bright light. But I think at the time they were probably really impressed with the effects of like all the little compys or the stegosauruses and whatnot. And in my head, I remember the stegosaurus sequence being a little bit longer, a little bit more like action-packed and daring. I seem to remember like her being in the log longer and like the tail coming down more and that sort of thing. But as the movie goes on, like once again, and we transition, into nighttime, I think the effects are basically flawless from like in my mind, like once you hit nighttime onward, and even some of the stuff in kind of like the poaching sequence, like when they're on the hunting trail, I think there is some impressive stuff there. Like the Pachycephalosaurus looks really good. The large like duck-billed dinosaur that they take down looked pretty good, for broad daylight. The motorcycle or the trike that's kind of going between the legs of the the dinosaurs, a lot of that stuff is really fun. Does it always showcase the visual effects flawlessly? No, but I will say Spielberg at least oftentimes puts like realness in the foreground. Like it's kind of like it won't be a fully CGI like shot pretty much all the time. There's still like real aspects to it, which obviously it gives you a direct comparison to basically be like, oh, this looks extra fake because we got real Julianne Moore in the foreground. But I think it's also a way of like he was trying to blend it all together, right? That it's not just CGI bullshit, the movie, even though I think Spielberg estimates like 50% of this movie is, CG effects as opposed to the first one. I think he said there's like 60 shots in the whole movie like that are, CGI visual effects, where this one he's like, it's hundreds,
I liked the close-ups, like more like, I guess it was probably more puppety stuff better.
Yeah, that if you're talking about like, let's say the baby stegosaurus in the scene, like, right, like that's a whole, practical effect, like little robot guy.
Anthony, did you find, because you were talking about you and me, obviously both having seen this in the theater, like when you watch it now, because I'm sure, when we were that age, we were like, oh yeah, this is like, we're here, we've made it, wrap it up, movies are done. But like, was it jarring to you at all, like with the CGI watching? Like, I know for me, especially where I'm looking at this through a monster movie lens, or I was thinking about like, just like, Colton's favorite shark movies or like anything like that. I'm like, this is kind of like the name of the game for this kind of movie.
Yeah, I would say back then I was like, yeah, nothing's going to get better than how this looks right now. Then I pop on like the 4K copy of this movie last night, and I'm like, oh, jeez, this is rough here. I'm like, man, this looks like some pretty sweet like PlayStation 1 cutscenes, and like I've seen better cutscenes in Silent Hill too, you know, like, yeah.
The old version, right?
yeah, the old version.
Come on, it's not that rough, but I agree. It was shockingly rough to me in some points, especially near the beginning of the movie.
Okay, do you know what I kept thinking of? Like, I was like, oh, I can't wait to bring this up tonight. And I was like, this is making me think of a lot of the sequences in Event Horizon. I'm sure they were good at the time, but boy, it aged like fucking milk left out on the sidewalk. Like,
it's just like this is coming out at the same time as like Spawn, and I don't know if we've all seen Spawn, but Spawn was like visual effects at the time, you know, computer created graphics, and it is horrendous. This was like revolutionary for the time.
I haven't seen Spawn probably since shortly after it came out.
Yeah, I only watched it for the first time probably within the last 2 or 3 years, and it's
Spawn kind of slaps. I'm just gonna say that.
Not for visual effects, Rowan. Come on, do I have to see it up? I'll let someone else talk, and I'll find something. It's
the
horrendous.
visual effects are rough on that one. I will say though, you know, you briefly brought up the scene like we're kind of getting I called it like the second team comes in, the InGen team with the
yeah.
But I will say, I'm not embarrassed to say it, like where they have the one like the beginning shot of that scene where they're like in the rover or whatever, and it kind of like jumps over something, and then like it lands in the field, and then we see all the motorbikes going. I might have like softly under my breath just been like, let's fucking go. I was so hyped. That scene just gets me so hyped up because I'm just like, I love the chaos and like the action of it. It's like, I feel like I'm watching like a Schwarzenegger movie or something. It's just like dinosaurs running all over the place, guys with giant guns just fucking on motorbikes running around, and I was just like,
exactly.
I love every bit of it.
What you see in every horror movie, right, Rowan?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, that scene won't really fight my case much. I mean, the next scene I wanted to talk about, Will, though, is, I mean, to me, kind of one of the big set pieces is Mummy and Daddy T-Rex.
Yeah, this is the set piece. This is still like the sort of set piece that I don't even know if they really beat it after this. Like in any of the sequels, I don't know. And obviously the budgets on these movies get insane, and what you're able to do with modern, just complete like digital creations, you know, they can make crazy things happen. But there's something with this scene that when I'm watching it, this is like the moment in the movie. If you're not sold on like kind of the idea of like, oh, Jurassic Park sequel, we had 1 T-Rex, now we have 2. You know, if you don't like think this sequence is at least pretty cool, it's like you're obviously not going to like anything else in this movie, right?
Yeah, well, and this is, to me, this is where the film, I think this is one of my stronger cases of this being like a straight up monster horror movie, because there's just like almost, I don't even know if it's intentional, but to me, like there's almost like a meanness to it and to the tone. Like, we get our guy like ripped in half that's trying to help everybody out. Pretty brutal, like if you think about it, for like a movie aimed at kids. But like, yeah, like there's just like pure T-Rex like carnage and terror here. Obviously, you know, we get, you know, the great Jurassic Park, which they use all the time, of, you know, the T-Rex like lowering its head, so you're like looking at the eye.
But this time there's one in the foreground and one on the background through the other window as well.
Which I think, to me, I'm like, I think the strongest argument for this is almost like a gateway horror, because I'm like, if you're a kid, you're probably like, what the fuck? Although I'm very confused. Dr. Ian Malcolm here, apparently not remembering anything from his past experience, because he's just running around this trailer. Like, I was like, didn't we learn? You don't move, you stand still. And
doesn't he also tell everyone to stand still later in the movie?
He does.
Yes,
as well.
He does.
Yeah.
But just never follows his own
this
rules.
was a terrifying situation. It was just frantic. I agree that I don't know if it's like a great horror scene, but in terms of like an exercise in tension and creating all these ticking clocks and releases and then more tension building up, I think it is pretty insane. Like the idea of like, you obviously have Julianne Moore falling on the glass. You have the satellite phone that's going to fall on top of her. You have the whole trailer slipping. You have the winches letting go. You have the ropes that they're holding on letting go. You have T-Rexes coming back and forth. It's just a lot to handle. And the fact that it goes off mostly without a hitch, or at least you can kind of comprehend what's happening in the scene, when they also filmed it apparently over a month at like 2 or 3 different studios. They had to film it in parking garages to get the height. They had to cut like holes in the ceiling of studios, get cranes in. They had to completely rebuild the set whenever the T-Rexes were on screen, because each one I think was like 9 tons and cost like $1 million each. Like, so basically whenever there's the 2 T-Rexes like on screen, they're rebuilding the sets around them every single time because they're just too large and too expensive to kind of move and reconfigure. So it's kind of crazy that they managed to pull it all off. And when I was watching it, it was just kind of like, I was just wowed by the tension of it all, where I just felt like kind of on the edge of my seat, like, oh, is the satellite phone gonna break the glass before Julianne Moore can grab onto her lucky pack sack? All these sorts of ideas that, I don't know. It's a great sequence for sure for one of these dinosaur action movies or horror movies, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I agree. I think to me, it was the highlight of the movie. And also, it does it in a way that, it calls back to the original Jurassic Park, where the T-Rex comes out and it's raining in the Jeep, and all of that. But they keep adding to it. Like, every time you think a problem's going to be solved, right? Like, something else happens. And that death is really brutal and mean, like you said. At first I was like, this guy's an idiot. He deserves everything that's coming for him. But when he he's
like a lovable idiot.
Yeah.
Like
I like Richard Schiff in this movie. Come on, guys.
He put so much effort into trying to save everybody that when he died, I felt bad. I was like, oh no, that was actually a loss. And I was kind of mad at the 3 people stuck. It was like they weren't doing anything to preserve their own lives. And then they make the weird like kind of McDonald's joke, like, I'll take some double cheeseburgers, no onions, apple turnover. I was like, you guys are about to fucking die. Like,
Ian Malcolm's just that cool. He's even in the face of death, just same witty jokes. But yeah, I was gonna say I agree 100%. And it's just like you said, all these things they incorporate that are like kind of direct callbacks or make you feel like the first one. Like, I was thinking about him wrapping the rope around the tree, and so we're thinking about what's his name, Newman, for in the original Jurassic Park, and using the toe thing in front of the truck, like
so we're using Dilophosaurus, Dennis Nedry,
we're using all this like technology that was established in the first one, and I think it was just really smart because then obviously like the RVs are a little more like military and built up. And so you're like, okay, I get that, this company's kind of upgraded a bit and all that. And I do have to say, throughout all this, I had to know that InGen, maybe one of the best fake company names I've ever heard in a movie. I was like, this sounds like a real company, like, I don't know, some company Elon Musk would own or something.
Yeah.
I was just like, great fake company name.
Yeah, I agree.
And also just how this sequence ends. Obviously, there's the cheesy explosion with the tire coming up and almost hitting them, which it always makes me kind of smirk every time, especially because the visual effects aren't that great there when that happens. But how it's like the midpoint of the movie and the T-Rexes just vanish when they get to the top of the cliff, and it's essentially like the whole group that they've been kind of fighting against all there, and it's like, well, now that you have to deal with kind of being stuck with these guys for the rest of the movie, more or less, as well.
Out of the frying pan into the fire or whatever.
Exactly.
I do want to say, because I did say there was lots of like characters that I loved in this. Our boy Pete Postlethwaite,
Oh, he's amazing in this movie.
He is so good in this.
Yeah.
And I like that, like, you know, I like that they kind of give him even like a little character arc.
Yeah.
Because obviously when we get introduced to him, he's like this badass, but like he comes, he saves them. We all like obviously find out like he does a little bit care, you know, about people. He doesn't want people to get hurt. But, you know, he just wants his T-Rex. He just wants to hunt. I really liked him. Obviously, I'd written down Dr. Robert Burke. I thought he was hilarious. He was like the hippie, long-haired hippie doctor guy with with the cap. I just thought he was a funny character because I was like, yeah, it's just like this stoner character, you know, as a doctor. And I also had how much I enjoyed Arliss Howard in this, who plays kind of like our villain Peter Ludlow.
Oh, just a wiener,
but
just
so good. I like that he's just like always trying to drink. He's just always trying to be drunk throughout this whole movie. And also crazy that I didn't realize that it was Arliss Howard. Like, as someone who like Full Metal Jacket is like so high on like one of my all-time films, and I kept being like, man, this guy looks like really familiar, and I like couldn't put my finger on it. And then when I looked it up, I'm like, oh shit, it's Cowboy from Full Metal Jacket. I was just like, this is odd. Like, I just thought he did a real good job at playing this like sleazebag executive villain who to me is like, this is the natural progression. Like, this is the only person that could be a villain in the next Jurassic Park movie. Like, the first, we kind of have like the creator, but now we have just like the corporation and like the capitalist system, the suits coming in that are like, okay, we need to like turn some profit off of this dead idea, which I'm sure there like could be a lot to say about like films nowadays and just relying on IP and stuff. And there's got to be like some stuff you could extrapolate.
This is an idea that comes up time and time again with the rest of the movies in the Jurassic World trilogy for sure.
And then the only other one I really kind of enjoyed was our character Dieter Stark, who gets killed by the little
compys,
who obviously, you know, like I think most people would know from like Fargo, and it's just always like a heavy in action movies. But this is another scene I wanted to bring him up because this is another scene where I was like, this is a monster movie. This is a horror movie where they get him behind the log, they murder him, we get the blood running down the river.
Yep.
I was just like, this is like such a great, it's a great kill. But I was like, you know, this is like some gateway horror stuff of just like, you know, these guys being killed. I guess I'll tie in a note. I wrote it after I finished watching, just in general, where I was just like, I said before, like, it's just kind of wild that like this is aimed at kids and there is some death on screen, but a lot of it's like someone's taken behind a log and like, or Burke dies, you know, and the waterfall turns red. But I was like, it's kind of crazy. It's this kids movie and we're listening to people like screaming and being killed in like the most brutal way possible, like just being eaten alive and like torn apart. And I was just like, you know what? That's horror, baby. That's horror.
What's funny about Dieter's sequence with the compys is in my head, I actually remembered it being more graphic than it actually was. When the scene was coming up, I wrote a note that was, oh, I remember there's a great lip prosthetic. I remember like when the compy's like on his lip, in my head, I remembered kind of like part of his lip getting torn off. And I remember it being like, oh, I remember this being gross. Then when I was watching the movie, it doesn't happen. So it's this idea that even though it is kind of tame, if you want to look at it from a horror lens, you know, we're not seeing his mangled body on the ground. For whatever reason, it's still kind of an elicit a reaction in me, like as a kid, or maybe the last time I watched it, that I remembered it being more horrifying than it actually was. Don't get me wrong, these little shits and getting like surrounded by them and, you know, getting slowly eaten is not great. But it was just in my head, I remembered it being even more horrifying than what we actually see on screen.
Yeah. And you know, then probably, you know, you talked about the kind of key set piece with this being, you know, the two T-Rexes and, you know, destroying the kind of bus control center.
the RV. Yeah.
I mean, to me, another like major set piece is, and another real horror set piece is the T-Rex is invading the camp while everyone's sleeping at night.
I love it. It's so good.
Does this work for you, Anthony, on like horror level?
Yeah, it hit horror aspect for me. Yeah, I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I had written down, Colton should remember, because we just, we had an episode.
Death of a Unicorn.
There was definitely a scene ripped right out of this for Death of a Unicorn of like the tent material, shadows going on. It's done way better in this. Like, this is like way better. But, this is where I think you're really seeing like Spielberg's influence for this one, because obviously, we have the guy like looking up, screaming. I'm like, this is just a callback to like Godzilla, King Kong, like these kinds of movies. That guy being killed by the T-Rex stepping on him, and then
so good. And carrying along with him for like 2 or 3 steps until his body's just left bobbing in the water.
That was awful.
Yeah.
But great.
Such a bad way to go.
Yeah, but I was like, this is where I was like, this is really firing on all cylinders. Is this just like full out monster movie? Like, this isn't the first Jurassic Park. We're like stepping it up a bit on this one.
I'll help you out a little bit too on the horror aspect, where we get the setup earlier with obviously Sarah's jacket having like the baby T-Rex's blood on it, and I don't know why she keeps just bringing it along with her. Like she would know that like this would have a scent tied to it, especially when they're like, oh, it's not drying because of the humidity. But seeing it hang up in their tent and seeing Kelly there sleeping beside her and seeing the shadows of the T-Rex outside, and then it even actually like poking its full head inside the tent, and just once again this is playing on kind of like this childhood feeling of, oh my God, it's getting her while she's sleeping, it elevates it a little bit of like a childhood horror, for sure. And then even when you see the T-Rex stand up and it has the tent on it and kind of shakes it around, I remember as a kid being like, oh my God, are they stuck inside the tent getting shaken around in this moment? And obviously they're not, but it's horrific on that child level of, camping and monsters sneaking into your tent and all these sorts of things. And I just don't know why Sarah didn't get rid of that bloody shirt a little bit earlier in the jungle.
I mean, I'm going to say, I would have been dead too when the snake goes in the Burke's like shirt. And I'd be done. Yeah. Although I kept thinking too, I was like, the snake's probably poisonous. Like, it's going to bite him. He's probably going to die.
Did anyone like pause and like try and do the little rhyme that you're supposed to know to tell the difference between the venomous types of these snakes? Coral snakes, is it? I was like, I can't remember what the rhyme is, which means in this situation, I'd probably be dead as well. But when I was watching this, I was kind of wondering if it was supposed to be mean-spirited, like, oh my God, he's stupid. This was actually, a nice snake. Or if it was, oh, he's screwed either way. Which...
I would have been screwed, so I can't really say anything about that. I mean, do we want to talk about velociraptors?
Mike certainly doesn't, but we can.
Yeah. Mike, what are your thoughts on velociraptors? I mean, I figured this is where we get Mike ranting. Mike, what do you think about kids jumping, doing like gymnastic jumps and just
not gymnastics,
kicking velociraptors?
Don't bring up gymnastics.
Oh, so good.
I feel like they must have been playing a lot of video games, and they were mimicking what they saw in video games. So it was 1997 after all.
Oh right? My God, you missed the throwaway line earlier in the movie that she was cut from the gymnastics team. Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I got a bone to pick about that situation.
Okay.
I mean, you were talking about the kids from the first movie having like a little cameo in the beginning. I love those kids, because I feel like those are the very heart of the Jurassic Park movie. You have these kids that are relatable and they're doing kid stuff, like stupid shit that's going to get them killed. Like the little boy is always doing something stupid. And one of my favorite scenes from the original movie is when they're at like the dining room or the kitchen and there's like eating all this food and the jelly is like moving because there's dinosaurs, and like the whole kitchen scene is amazing. And the kid in this movie, it's not her fault. Like, she wasn't written as a good character, but there's not much like childhood in it. And I got excited when I saw the little boy with the captain who brought them on the boat. I was like, oh, there's going to be some kids in this movie. And that's like part of the Spielberg magic, right? I felt it was really lacking because her character really didn't have much to contribute. I like the scene when they find her in the RV and she's like cooking on the fire and like making smoke and they're freaking out. But like, she doesn't really contribute much. And also, I feel like they had an opportunity to do something really cool with Dr. Malcolm because, you know, you have the two parents, the T-Rex parents, who are trying to get their baby back and they love their child fiercely. And then you have Ian Malcolm, who's like kind of a shitty dad. Like, I'm not surprised, but like, come on, do something with it.
Yeah, I agree. Her character falls pretty flat for me the entire movie. And I remember growing up and whenever my friends and I would discuss this movie, even when we were kids, I remember we always hated this gymnastic
Oh my
kid.
God.
And it's really funny when you watch it. Now you can even see like the wire that pulls like the, you know, pulls the wood off the window. You can see it like swinging in the background. You can see it's obviously like replaced with a larger actress to do the kick. Like, it's funny, like for the mysticism of filmmaking and kind of buying into this moment, it falls apart a little bit for me. And it's just, yeah, I agree with you that Kelly is kind of just a burden in this movie. And there's only even really a couple of sequences where you even get to spend any amount of time with her. One is like what you're saying is like obviously the scene where she's cooking and kind of she was like a stowaway. And then another scene, I guess, is like when she's up in the high hide and she's worried about, you know, her dad and if they should go get him and that sort of thing. She has a little bit on the go. But yeah, she's just kind of like getting dragged along the entire movie. Not much agency. And as you said, doesn't really act like a kid much.
Well, and like the real issue, too, is like, you know, there's just such a buildup to, you know, obviously like the standout of the original is like the Velociraptor scenes and, you know, the Velociraptor becomes a thing after Jurassic Park comes out as a movie. So everyone sitting in this theater is just like, you know, are the Velociraptors in this? Like, when are they going to be in this? And then, you know, I think the tall grass scene overall for like an introduction,
the long grass sequence is cool,
works, and that's awesome. But then it's just like, to me, it's like you kind of just shit on finally having the Velociraptors, because in the first one, like we said, like there's so much tension. And like the scariest part of the original Jurassic Park is the Velociraptors. And then in this, it's like, yeah, they're just like these bumbling fools, essentially. Just like, you know, digging under the door and getting kicked by little kids. So
did the jump scare there get anybody when Kelly sticks her head underneath and then the raptor puppet comes out and tries to get her? I remember as a kid that frightened the shit out of me.
It worked for Kid Colton.
Yeah, that's about it, I guess. I agree. I feel like this feels like a Benny Hill sequence almost. There's not really much direction to it. They're all just kind of running around in circles away from the raptors. The one part of the sequence that works for me is Julianne Moore hanging off kind of the rafters and pulling the different, you know, I like that. It's kind of clever making the raptors slide down onto the ground, you know, the one below her, the one above. God, what are they called? What are the things she's grabbing and moving? Anyways, the shingles or whatever on the roof. Yeah. I think that's a pretty fun sequence. But yeah, a lot of it wraps up pretty quick. I guess also where the raptor's kind of digging into the window is kind of neat, where it's using its nose to kind of like widen the hole to get through. But yeah, specifically the ending to this sequence where Julianne Moore falls on the ground, takes a step, and she falls through the ground again into like a lower area. Then she rolls out a window, and then it's like, all right, the helicopter's here. Let's get moving, guys. Is a very sloppy ending to this sequence with the Velociraptors, in my opinion. It always comes out of nowhere. It's so
Oh my
sudden.
God, Julianne Moore got dropped on her face so many times in this movie. It was like actually insane. She's not even like dinged up or anything. She looks fine. And she just like went through literal hell.
I fucking love Julianne Moore. I'm just putting that out there.
Same.
I'm always happy when Julianne Moore's and stuff.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all the movies we reviewed that I complain about this, that I actually like the way it works in this film, where we always complain about like false endings. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this one I actually really like, because you get that like come down from everything that's happened. And then, you know, we get the shot of the helicopter going with the T-Rex. And I'm just like, these fucking idiots.
Never learn.
Do you know the original ending to this movie, Rowan?
No.
So the original ending was they don't go to the city at all. It kind of wraps up here, like with, you know, the poacher and whatnot, you know, Tembo basically being like, oh, you know, I'm just going to go. I spent enough time in the company of death. I'm going to go on my own way, sort of thing. But then pterodactyls or pterodons attack the helicopter on the way back.
Okay.
And there's like a weird like dogfight air sequence with the pterodactyls where one of the pilots gets eaten. And anyways, it seems like it would have been a mess. I don't know why Spielberg thought it was a good ending to the movie. I understand why it might be cool to have like a pterodactyl action sequence or a horror sequence, especially because they do that in the next movie. But in terms of an ending to this movie, where it's so obviously focused on kind of like the family unit escaping and then also the T-Rex getting transported back to San Diego, it's kind of like, isn't the natural progression of this seeing what happens in San Diego? So the fact that it took like 9 drafts to get to this ending is
wild,
a little bit, yeah, baffling. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they give us that tease, right? When he's in the meeting, the 97 Zoom meeting, the video call, like saying about, you know, oh, actually, John Hammond built this park.
Amphitheater, yeah.
And, you know, this, yet again, like I said, like, you know, you're winding down, you see that, and then this is another moment where I'm just like, let's fucking go. Like, let's
just... How did we all feel about this sequence? Because I feel like this is a really hot button topic for this movie.
This is awesome.
Okay, it's either you think the movie is way too fucking long and adding on to this sequence, it's all just CGI nonsense. Why do we go here? It kind of feels like slop. Or... it's like, let's fucking go. The T-Rex is in San Diego. It turns into a Godzilla movie for, 15 minutes. I assume, Mike, you were probably in the former, where it's like, this should be wrapped up 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
I texted Rowan when I first was getting ready to watch this and was like, this movie is over 2 hours, like, get fucked.
So... it's actually like 2 hours right on the dot because it has like 8 to 10 minutes of credits. But I agree. Like, as I mentioned earlier, when I kind of booted up this movie to watch it this afternoon, I was like, oh my God, it's over 2 hours. Like, and I remember it being kind of boring at times. You know, it was a bit of a tough sit to start off with. But yeah, when I was watching this, I thought this sequence was a lot of fun. It is the sort of thing where it's just a lot of like fantasy and like childlike wonder. Like, if you're playing with these dinosaurs, you're probably smashing them against things or like walking through buildings or building like little Lego creations for them and whatnot, right? So seeing it actually come to life on the big screen and with a lot of pretty good effects, once again, like kind of trying to merge the T-Rex into this world, it was pretty awesome. There were some like standout moments, like we mentioned earlier in there with the kid obviously waking up and the family dog getting eaten, which, you know, poor dog. But the bus sequence is pretty crazy. Yeah, where apparently that took a long time. They had to like rig an actual bus and, you know, destroy it, you know, strategically, and then have people also jump out of the other side with kind of rolling it, which is just, it's the sort of stunts they like don't ever do nowadays. You know, to have a bus moving, going up on 2 wheels and then having actors jump out of like the breaking windows on the other side. It's just like, they don't do that shit anymore. That would be all visual effects. So to see that they put so much like time and care into kind of timing this out to actually just get, you know, a T-Rex smacking its head up against the side of a bus, which in this 2 hour movie, if you would have not had a sequence like that, I don't know if it would have like crippled it. But to have it in there and see like it was so important to them, it's pretty awesome. And then you know, obviously to come have it crashing in through Blockbuster is sick as well.
I loved all the chaos in this, and I thought not only like an homage to like Godzilla destroying cities and stuff. Yeah. I kind of was reading a real homage to American Werewolf in London, simply because like I'm thinking about, you know, when it's like out in the street and like cars are crashing into each other. There's like panic all over the streets. Yeah. And I was just like, you know, someone like Spielberg, I'm sure, you know, loves American Werewolf in London, and I was just like, yeah, just like these like monsters in the city. When they go through Blockbuster, the fake movie posters, just like all time. I had them written down.
Tsunami.
Did we all write them down?
I didn't write it down. What were they?
All right, I had a question. So it's 1997. You're going to Blockbuster. You got to pick up one of these new hit movies, to rent. Are you going to get King Lear starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jack and the Ben Stacks starring Robin Williams, which looks like a weird family drama, or Tsunami Sunrise with a surfing Tom Hanks on the front?
King Lear.
It's just, yeah.
I need that poster, actually.
Yeah.
It'd be a pretty sweet.
I bet you somebody has an Etsy shop where they have prints of that.
Oh, there's no way.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
I mean, there's no way I'm not like front row and center for Arnold Schwarzenegger as King Lear.
Yeah.
That just sounds perfect.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to say I'm part of team Let's Fucking Go with the dinosaur in San Diego, and I'm really happy that they went there because I don't know, I wasn't getting bored in the jungle, but I was like, okay, it's enough of this. Let's do something else. So when they did all of that, I was like, wow, this T-Rex is just like wreaking havoc. And I also, Rowan, your claim that this is a horror movie, I think the ship showing up too with everyone on board dead, I think that was really cool. And it could have been even more scary, but yeah, I like that.
As a kid, we were always like, well, actually, how did the T-Rex get the captain? The hull wasn't destroyed, but only his arm remained, and it was just all this nonsense. But it is fun when I'm watching it. Just basically
as a kid,
ghost.
You're like that now, girl.
Shut up. But it is fun having like this ghost ship, sail into the harbor, and just once again, it's kind of like just this weird fantastical sequence for the movie. And also, even though a lot of people give this movie shit and they're like, they only went to San Diego for 15 minutes, or they shouldn't have went there at all. All of like these other Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, they always sell you on the idea of the dinosaurs getting to the mainland, the dinosaurs like intermingling with our world. And I still don't think they've really made good on that promise. Like there's obviously in Jurassic World Dominion, there's like quick snippets, or you'll see like, I don't know, a mosasaur in the ocean swimming around with boats, or, see some triceratops going through the desert or something silly. But like actually like causing chaos in our world, it doesn't happen very much in these movies at all. So the fact that it's still like they did it in the 90s, it was 15 minutes long, they did it well. It's still pretty impressive. Like the movie, like Jill mentioned earlier, with like the Indoraptor going into like the girl's bedroom, Fallen Kingdom. At the end of that movie, it's basically just a dinosaur in a mansion. It's not a dinosaur in like the suburbs or anything, right? And then in the next movie, like once again, I think there's a part where like a T-Rex kind of walks through a drive-in. But once again, it's a very short sequence. So the fact that like in the second movie of this franchise, they kind of delivered on what the next 4 sequels couldn't deliver on. It's pretty interesting to me, or like entertaining, for satisfying that want that the audience might be craving.
I mean, they even did, speaking of the whole like Godzilla movie, this turns into like, they even do a shot where there's a crowd of people running away, looking up their shoulder, like at it, it was just right out of a Godzilla film.
Apparently a lot of those actors as well were just crew members, where it was just, they wanted to see who would go in the movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think David Koepp, the screenwriter, is one of the guys who he like runs directly into the door, and then the T-Rex grabs him and swings him up through the air. Yeah, that's the screenwriter for the movie.
Love that.
Yeah, so there's lots of fun stuff in that sequence, and obviously the way where it all comes together in the end with this, CEO that you've been wanting to die the whole movie, and the fact that it's like, the dad T-Rex kind of plays with him and lets the little one eat him. Oh, just chef's kiss. Perfection there.
I love that he was trying to reason with him at first. He was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Stop.
Pleading with him.
And then just trank the dinosaur, and then just kind of, slowly lowering itself into the thing, which I thought was like kind of a callback to like, like old like 40s, 50s like drive-in monster films where a lot of the times that's kind of how your monster would go, right? Like it would fight and then it would just kind of slowly retreat or die away, you know, float away.
Ginger Snaps too.
No, well, I wasn't going to say Ginger Snaps too, but it sort of reminds me of King Kong in a certain way, just with like, you know, kind of the beast being tamed at the end. And also another very good visual effect where you can see kind of a bit of fat on its neck kind of shake as the trank hits it. You can see the trank, you know, actually sticking out. It's just there is a lot of detail in the scene, even though there's so much chaos in it as well.
Yeah, I love that the Sarah and Jeff Goldblum's character just jump off the side of the ship and then
he
immediately
just
run back up though. Like
yeah, that's true. He jumps into the harbor, you know, has to swim back to the dock, come around, you know, to close.
And climb back up and hit the button.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, it's just, you know, I was just so triggered again. I saw, you know, this strong female character with the gun getting the last shot. You know, it's little woke for my taste.
Have that. Or the black child.
Yeah, exactly.
TEI.
Well, I guess the last thing is just, do we believe that this is a horror movie?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, let's have the discussion.
Yeah, you had a couple of points that you brought up. I would kind of argue that, don't get me wrong, it obviously has horror aspects to it, and the dinosaurs can be scary. It's just, I do think a lot of the kills in this movie were toned down compared to the first Jurassic Park even. Like, I think about when Samuel L. Jackson, when he dies and it's like the arm is hanging over, you know, Ellie, and it has like some viscera on the end of it, right? You can see the bone kind of sticking out and it's kind of draping over her. We get, you know, severed arms and whatnot in this movie, but it's always kind of like it cuts before it shows any of the meat. You know what I mean? Like it's always like, oh, okay, it's kind of there, maybe a little bit of blood, but it's never quite as graphic. Or I think back to when the lawyer in Jurassic Park 1, when he's on the toilet.
Oh my God.
And he gets eaten by the T-Rex and swoops down and grabs him right off the toilet and kind of swings him around, right? It's, I don't know. There's aspects in that movie that I just feel like are a little bit more of like actually tuned for horror. The goat leg smacking on the, you know, on the windshield with the kids inside. Don't get me wrong. This movie has builds up of tension and there's tense scenes. It's just overall, I think it's slightly less horrific than the first one. And I think largely it's just because Spielberg is going crazy with the set pieces. There's so much shit. We never even talked about how like the poacher's camp gets completely destroyed and the dinosaurs run amok and you have the Triceratops coming through, right? Like there's big sequences that we never even really discussed that kind of gives it like this action movie feel still a little bit kind of going throughout it.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with all that. I think when I relate this to a horror movie, I almost think of how, you know, one thing I think I've really seen over the years is how the horror community has kind of like, you know, taken like kaiju movies under our wing is like kind of our own thing. And to me, like that's how I kind of feel about this is I'm like, you know, this is like one of those adjacent things where, you know, we can sit here and argue and be like, oh yeah, this is horror, so we can talk about it. I mean, like I said, to me, this is like a great little gateway horror movie to me. Like, you know, I was thinking about stuff we've talked about with gateway horror, you know, PG stuff, and I'm like, this is probably just as good as any of that, you know, for like monster madness and just like, you know, dinosaurs running amok. You know, next thing you know, we're going to be reviewing, you know, the notorious Carnosaurus film that
God.
I definitely owned on VHS at one point, and I wish I still had because I think it's worth a shit ton of money. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, I to me, I just, when I picked it, I was like, I think the arguments that can be made for the first one, there can be stuff in this made also, where I think this is kind of it. I from what I remember, I don't remember much of the third one, but I feel like the rest are...
I think the third one has more than this.
Oh, geez.
I think we got to do the third one.
Well,
now
we'll
at some
find
point,
out
just
when...
to torture Mike some more.
We'll find out when Mike picks it, so...
Well, I just wanted to say when we get into our rating, I think in our rating we should include our favorite dinosaur.
Yes, I was actually going to butt in and interrupt everybody before we even said if we've seen the movie before that and then get our favorite dinosaur, so that's important. Baby T-Rex, we never really talked about him. We got to give him his due. It's an incredibly impressive practical effect. Just like this battery remote controlled dinosaur that they can carry around throughout the movie. The noise, like the sound effects for him crying for his parents. Just how cute he is. It's
so
a great
cute.
little creature. I love the baby
I love the baby
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
Yeah, it was really
too.
well done. Yeah.
How much of your life savings are you willing to spend on just owning that animatronic?
I bet that thing is like ratty looking now.
Oh,
so
100%.
maybe not too much. But hopefully it's in a museum, you know?
Well, with that, let's land the plane and get into rating this. If you're new to the program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Colton, you're the dinosaur boy. So why don't you kick us off with your rating for The Lost World, Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I wrote like a whole paragraph for this, so I'll just skim through that. Basically, like, is this movie as good as the original? No. That movie, in my opinion, is a complete and utter masterpiece. But the fact that I think most people think this is absolute trash is also kind of a little bit shocking to me. Maybe Mike will be able to tell me why in a minute or two. But I think the visual effects here are still largely great. The cast of characters are fun. And Steven Spielberg directs the hell out of all these like back-to-back-to-back set pieces. Like the RV over the cliff, to the T-Rexes at the campsite, to the raptors in the long grass. That's just like, a 3 set pieces in a 2-hour movie, and it's like dinosaur action excellence, those scenes. I love them. And then you also get the whole childhood wish fulfillment of seeing the T-Rex like come to the real world, and it turns into this little monster movie to kind of cap it all off. As I mentioned in the intro, my recollection of this movie was that it was a little shaggy or dull or had a lot to cut. But when I was rewatching it today, I just kind of clipped by, and even the kind of moments that I remembered that were a little bit boring, if I actually paid attention and listened, they were actually discussing like very small details that I never paid attention to before. Like, oh, they're talking about bringing the baby T-Rex back on the private jet. I missed that before. I kind of wondered how he got back. Or like, oh, okay, they're talking about the lysine contingency and why the herbivores are eating it, and kind of like, the natural flow of like how all these dinosaurs are staying alive and how life is finding a way. So I just kind of wasn't bored when I was watching it. And obviously, maybe I'm a little bit biased because, I think this might be my like most watched movie of all time. So I could just be clouded by nostalgia. But I'm going to go ahead and give it a slay, which might be crazy. But I do. I kind of love this movie. I'm not going to lie. I read a bunch of the Letterboxd reviews. I read some critical reviews just to see where other people stood. And most people are like, yeah, this is all right. I love it. It's great. I'm a dinosaur kid. It's going to be a slay from me. If we get to Jurassic Park 3, you can hear my thoughts on a movie that is not a slay. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Anthony, you're our guest. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like I said earlier, my expectations were pretty low going into rewatching this one because it had been so long, and the expectation originally had dipped. But after this rewatch, I enjoyed the hell out of it. A lot of awesome like action set pieces. The practical effects they did use in it were amazing. And you know what? The last little clip at the end of it really got me with John Hammond with his little comment saying,
me too.
And if we could only step aside and trust in nature, life will find a way. And with that, I'm going to give this one a slay.
Holy fuck.
Oh, I'm so happy. Wow.
I can't believe this.
Let's go.
Jill, what about you?
Me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
if only people listening could just see Mike's face as these ratings are coming in.
Mike looks like he's going to be sick.
Mike looks like the candidate he wanted to win an election is like just on the verge of losing.
Too soon. Yeah, I wanted to say that, nothing will ever live up to the original Jurassic Park for me. That's a really special movie for me. I think it's a perfect movie, honestly. But this movie had a lot of the things that I did like in the first movie. So as a sequel, I'm totally satisfied. I didn't think it was too long. I didn't think it dragged on. I really enjoyed it. And like Colton was kind of saying, I love seeing the T-Rex just running around the city, causing havoc. And, baby T-Rex baby Stegosaurus. You can't go wrong with that. There's a line at some point. They make a lot of jokes about being like a human buffet, and also I really like the line when they're walking like through the island. They called themselves a movable feast. And I think this movie is a movable feast, and I'm going to give it a yay. But no one else said what kind of dinosaur is their favorite.
No, I figured let's just end the show off with
I'll
that.
wait.
Yeah.
So, Mike, I know you hate it. Just tell us how much you hate it.
He spoiled his review on Letterboxd right before we started to record. So we all know how he feels.
I did get a text saying LOL at your Letterboxd review for Jurassic Park.
2 stars.
Listen, I can't help it. I'm not a dinosaur person.
No.
I never was. I never will be. Like, the fact that I like the original one at all is kind of miraculous. I guess only because it's Spielberg. But I also feel like he's somebody who has a lot of clunkers in his filmography too, even if people don't want to admit it. And I just think this is one of them. I just found it kind of boring. Like, Mother Julianne Moore was in it, and even that couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like she's so phoning it in, you know, like it's, and I don't know, a lot of the stuff that everybody was like, oh my God, like the characters from the original. It actually took me a minute to realize that Jeff Goldblum was not a new character.
No.
So when I tell you that anybody else that was from the first movie, I had no idea. Oof. I was like, who is this? Yeah. So I don't know. Listen, maybe I was not in the right frame of mind for it, but it was just kind of like nay territory for me. I thought the CG was like the like wide shots of all the CG was like really Event Horizon looking, and I'm sorry, like you wanted me to be honest. I'm just being honest. It just didn't do it. It didn't. Now, okay, listen. Okay, so the ending, the whole like city sequence, did I think it was fucking stupid? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Actually, yes. Because it was kind of like so stupid. It was almost like camp, you know what I mean? So I like, it was like, it was very much like like Jason Takes Manhattan.
No!
Same thing, right? Like he shows up in Manhattan for. No, that's literally. I was literally going at this, going, this is very Friday the 13th Part 8. Except Friday the 13th Part 8 did it like 8 years before. So,
obviously, I love this movie, but Steven Spielberg himself said that throughout the course of making this movie, he became a little bit disenfranchised with the art of making movies and readily admits that it's a far inferior movie to the first one, and then, chose not to direct any others going forward because he just figured he wouldn't really be able to do it justice.
Yeah.
So
I just felt like, given the pedigree, I expected way better, and I think that everybody did a hack job and phoned it in, but that's just me. I just found it boring. I was like David Koepp wrote literally one of my like top 3 favorite movies of all time, Death Becomes Her. This was not that. Like, I think that's a perfect movie. But listen, I don't know. It's kind of nay. It's like tottering between like a nay and an okay. It'd be an okay like at the end, maybe. The last sequence, okay, I'll give it an okay and say that the city sequence saves it from being a total nay. So, Ro, round it out.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I revisited this couple weeks ago, and I had a really good time with this. I watched this at work. That's where I was. And it was like, nice. It was like one of those things where I was like, I like put a couple things on, watched like 2 minutes, and I was like, I'm not really feeling this right now. I originally put this on because I was like, I want something that I can like play a game on my phone and just kind of have on the TV. And then my phone went down and my attention was just like totally on this, and I was like, this is working for me on so many ways. And then I, of course, was like, I gotta talk about this on the podcast. Like, there's no way I can't. And I think it would be fun. I was like, Colton will have time. And, you know, I kind of like everyone else has said, like, do I think it's better than the first one? No. You know, I think the first one, there's just something special about it that, there, you know, there's a reason it is what it is. And it's just, like, fantastic. The first one, I don't think there's, like, I can't really think of anything in the first one that overly looks bad or anything. It's just, like, a perfect movie. But for what this is, this works so hard for me. I'm going to give it a slay also.
Holy shit. I can't believe it.
Wow.
I love being the Colton of this episode, by the way.
No more are the Brutalist boys. This is, you know, Lost World boys. We're here.
This is Mike's villain arc.
Let's go.
Slay, like...
Let's go. So yeah, that will round us off with 3 slays, a yay, and an okay.
Oh, this is gonna look so good on Letterboxd.
Oh, it's
with
so
the
good.
star rating when it shakes out in the end. Rowan, before we get to what other people think on the movie, we should all say our favorite dinosaurs now, just to get it out of the way. You know, we've had the people waiting for 2 hours. Mine's obviously a T-Rex. I mean, it's not even a competition. I love that big derpy looking guy. Jill, what's your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur is a brontosaurus because they are vegetarians like me. But honorable mention is a stegosaurus because in grade 2, when we did a dinosaur unit, I was really obsessed with drawing stegosaurs. Mike, what's your favorite dinosaur?
No. I guess stegosaurus. Is that the one with the spiky tail?
Yeah.
Okay, then that one. Yeah. That's it. Okay, yeah, stegosaurus, slayosaurus, Anthony. Shoot.
Yeah, I was going to say the Brachiosaurus. Even just from the original, you know, it's the first time you see the dinosaur in its full effect, and then you have the famous like "crazy son of a bitch, he did it" line. And you know, ever since then, you know, it's been my favorite.
It is a magical moment. That moment for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Jurassic Park episodes. Colton's just always so happy. His energy's just infectious. I feel like I'm a basic bitch with my pick, but I have to be because like I have to be true to myself. But
because you are a basic bitch,
like I just Velociraptor. Even though I will say I understand Jurassic Park just totally inventing what the Velociraptor looks like.
Yeah.
And they're actually like tiny and have feathers and things like that. But like for these films, like I was always obsessed with it. I remember the original movie when they put the books out on like all the different dinosaurs, you know, having the Velociraptor book. I think you got them from McDonald's or somewhere, you know, killing Velociraptors in the Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game. That I thought was fantastic, that I actually played recently on online on my computer, and it was still great. So yeah, Velociraptor. That is my answer. So we told you what we thought about the film, and we asked what you thought about it. We had 2 answers, Colton, so we didn't have 0 answers. So that's a positive for you. And first off, we had...
What did they think?
First off, we had Horror Hound Holly P. right in. And she said, slay, love Jurassic Park.
Oh my God. Divorce.
So super pumped. So then on Slasher, we had yet another mindful jerk, right? And they said, I thought it felt like a cash grab. They didn't really have the money to really do a legitimate sequel worthy of the book. Was this the one with the gymnastics routine? Can't remember if that's this one or the third one. That's all they wrote. So obviously not a fan. Yeah, this one. I feel like I saw the budget. The budget was pretty large. It was like
they had $10 million more than the first movie.
Yeah. And they spent $250 million on marketing to Colton. That just went directly in the Labrador.
Yeah, essentially. It was huge outreach for the Lost World.
They were like, get those toys in fake Walmart ASAP. You know, at least Holly P coming through with the slays for Colton. Make him feel all bubbly and warm inside. And with that, we will go over to the horrific hotline, where I know our boy Nicholas has called in, and I have no idea. I didn't hear any of this or anything, so I have no idea how he feels.
Well, The Lost World, or The Lost World, Jurassic Park, is probably as good as any Jurassic Park or Jurassic World sequel ever got. That doesn't mean it's great, but for me personally, it is the best sequel following an absolute masterpiece, The Slay of All Slays, and probably my favorite movie of all time, Jurassic Park. So let's start with the things I really enjoy about the movie. There is the Stegosaurus in this movie, which is the absolute slay of dinosaurs. That is my favorite dinosaur.
Okay.
And we get to see them for the first
side,
time
Mike.
in this movie, and they have a lengthy sequence. I do like Jeff Goldblum in the movie most of the time. His character can be a bit annoying, but I think it's fair for the adventure plot. There are some faces that you recognize, like Vince Vaughn, Julianne Moore, so many people in this movie that I always forget are in the actual movie. And a few of the sequences are rather tense, especially the two T-Rex attack on the well, it's not a car. You know what I mean, this bus thingy.
We discussed it.
That is great. The movie is quite violent for a Jurassic Park movie, so there are a few scenes where I was a bit shocked yet again. However, overall, I'm not sure if I feel comfortable giving this movie a yay. I'm probably gonna land on a yay due to nostalgia, and it's always great seeing dinosaurs in a movie that's not a shit. But overall, there are many things that I don't particularly enjoy, especially now being an adult, rewatching all those movies and still thinking that Jurassic Park is the best movie ever made. And in this movie, the magic is kind of gone in some scenes. Yes, the Stegosauruses are cool, but overall, the dinosaurs really feel more like monsters in this one.
That's right.
Or just victims, so to say, of Ludlow and his men. And I didn't really like that too much. I thought the creatures were better handled in the first movie. I think Malcolm is a great supporting character, but I don't think he alone can carry the movie. And while it is entertaining, the ending with the T-Rex rampaging through
now is he a hater?
San Diego or San Francisco? I always forget. Yeah, it's fun, but overall it doesn't have the Jurassic Park vibe. And I think that is the biggest flaw of the movie. It has the music, it has the dinosaurs, it even has the director, it has Spielberg in there, it has the characters. John Hammond has a guest appearance, Lex and Tim have a guest appearance, but the Jurassic Parkness of it all from the first movie is missing. The raptors are not as scary and as intelligent as in the first movie. The overall plotline feels a bit jumbled together as if it's 2 or even 3 different storylines or movies, and I'm gonna land on the weak yay due to nostalgia and loving dinosaur action. But yeah, I'm really interested in what you guys have to say, especially what Colton has to say, because I really don't know if he loves or hates this one. And sorry for the longer text or a voice message. This franchise is just something that really, well, it is something that lives in my heart since I've been 5 years old, and I just can't keep it short with this one. Hope you can understand that.
We'll let the longer voicemail slide because you're fanboying over Jurassic Park and not something like Lisa Frankenstein or,
The audacity.
But yeah, I mean, he basically covered a lot of what we discussed in the episode already. I don't know if I knew that Nicholas was a dinosaur kid as well, or at least loved Jurassic Park so much. Maybe I did from the previous episode and just forgot because it's been a couple of years. But happy to hear someone else enjoying this movie. Like I said, if you look online, people don't love this one. So it's funny to be on a podcast where it seems like most of us are pretty positive on it, at least.
Most of us. As we look at Mike.
And if you want to send in a voicemail like Nicholas, you can do so by sending it to us at itslayspodcast@gmail.com or on our socials at itslayspodcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky, TikTok. On all those platforms, you can find us at It Slays Podcast. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Mark, Steven, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show Stream Screams, hosted by Jill, and get episodes of this here main show 48 hours early. Sometimes. Definitely not this time, considering we're recording so late in the week. But
I'm
you
gonna
can
try.
head on.
Wait, once I have all the vocals, I'll start right away.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll see. You can head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Rowan,
I think the theme song, the Jurassic Park, is already on the list.
It has to be on there.
Yeah.
Spielberg said he vastly prefers the score to this movie over the original. Weirdly enough.
Yeah, I'll have to listen to it, and maybe we'll add something there just for respect to all our fellow dinosaur boys and gals. But yeah, if you want to follow the playlist, you can on Spotify by looking up the It Slays Podcast Horrific Playlist. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media that Colton just mentioned. Click the Linktree link and it'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from horror movies we review, iconic horror movies, or just horror movies we love. So follow the playlist, get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? And before we go, last but not least, we have to announce our upcoming episode, which is a Mike pick. Now, I have written, what does this say? Jurassic Park 3, but
I think that's what we agreed on.
I think that's what he wrote. He said he was so excited.
Jurassic Park 5, how dare you?
Just skip into it.
I really don't like that one.
Dinos in space, like, hello.
That's what we need, Jurassic Park in space. But Mike,
exactly.
It is your pick. What will you have us watching?
Okay, so from the wonderful year 1982 comes the wonderful movie Tenebrae by Dario Argento.
Nice.
Yep, classic. We're going back to a classic.
Gonna have to bring Anthony back
after Jurassic Park 2.
Two classics back to back.
The disrespect.
I mean, yeah, no one's ever going to complain about some Argento.
I figured it's been a while, so let's do an Argento.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. So, yeah, get that in your eye holes, and we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about Tenebrae. Thank you, Anthony, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. I'm sure you'll be back. We'll have you back some more this year. I don't know. Did you have anything you wanted to tell people to follow you on or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to give me a follow, they can look me up on Instagram at AntLego79. Yeah, but no, it was awesome to be on. Looking forward to the next time, and thanks again for having me.
Yeah. We'll definitely have you again sooner than we did this time.
We haven't done Terrifier 2 on the main show.
We haven't, yeah. We know what Anthony likes.
Let's go.
You know, tickles his fancy.
Talk about another masterpiece.
So, as always, thank you for all the support, and I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Mike.
And I'm the dinosaur kid, Colton.
And bye, it's Jill.
And I'm Anthony.
See you later.